I would assume you're live. Could you please confirm someone's?
Yes, we are live. We can go. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, one second. Hello, I hope I'm audible to everyone. Apologies in advance for not being able to turn on my camera. Good morning, everyone. It is a privilege to welcome you all to the South Asian Artificial Intelligence Conclave 2026. Good morning, my dear friends, my respected professors. The conclave begins together as an exceptional mix of minds from across the world, researchers, academicians, and students creating a space where ideas do not just stay within the disciplines but interact, challenge, and evolve. What makes this platform significant is not just its scale, but its intent to examine artificial intelligence not in isolation, but in connection with law, governance, ethics, and society. This session is a continuation of that vision. It is not about repeating what we already know, but about questioning what we assume, refining what we understand, and exploring what lies ahead. Before we begin, I would like to acknowledge the institution behind this initiative, the Center for Development of Intellectual Property and Research, operating under the Naovina Development of Intellectual Property and Research Foundation. Their work in advancing intellectual property discourse and fostering research driven dialogue plays a crucial role in shaping conversations like the one we're about to have today. This conclave is being organized in collaboration with Google for Education and the Data and Society Research Institute and powered by the Community for Academic Research and Development Foundation. Their collective contribution reflects the interdisciplinary and global character of this platform. It is also my honor to introduce our panel judge for this session, Mr. D.S. Mandal, Executive Member at CDIPR, with a strong engagement in law, technology, and digital governance, and his work in areas such as AI regulation, public policy, and constitutional values. He brings a thoughtful and balanced perspective to the session. His presence ensures that the presentations today are not only insightful but also critically evaluated. As we move forward, I encourage everybody to listen carefully and think independently. Each presentation here is not just an academic exercise, but a contribution to a much larger conversation on how AI will shape our future. Moving on to the presentation guidelines, all the presenters are requested to note that each presentation will be for a total of 6 minutes, with 5 minutes allotted for the presentation and 1 minute reserved for any questions or answers. Kindly keep an eye on the comment box during your presentation to stay within the time limit. Also, please make sure that your microphones and cameras are functioning properly and make sure to upload your PPT in the backend before your presentation to avoid any delays. With that, let's begin with the technical session number two. On to our participants. I hope everybody is able to share the screen and all the prerequisites are done. So, moving on to the participants. Uh, Since it's 10:06, we would like to move on to the presentation, starting with Rito Chetasan from NUJS.
Good morning, everyone. So me and my teammate will be presenting. He'll be dealing with the first four slides, and then I'll take it up. So over to my teammate.
Hi, good morning to everybody present here. First up, I would really like to appreciate for this opportunity. So I'll just begin. At the outset, I would like to begin with the rapid growth of data centers in India. Their expansion is not only driven by cloud storage and processing, but also by the larger structural trends, such as data localization, digital sovereignty, and the desire for greater domestic control over digital infrastructure. Uh, can you turn over to the next slide? Right. Um, Turn over to the next one. Before turning to the legal issues, it is important to clarify the technical frame. Autonomy is best understood functionally. The question is not whether a system is autonomous in the abstract, but which tasks it performs without real time human judgment. Once cyber capabilities operate across surveillance, targeting, response, or adaptation, the law must assess them across a spectrum running from below threshold cyber activity to use of force to armed attack, and then finally to cyber operations governed by international humanitarian law during armed conflict. Next slide. This brings me to the paper's core shift in focus. The principal object of attack is no longer civilians, like the traditional sense, but or nor soldiers nor traditional weapon platforms. Increasingly, the target is the digital and infrastructural ecosystem that sustains state capacity itself. Communications, command data, surveillance network, logistics, and wider civilian systems embedded in the same architecture.
So now we come to the conceptualization, why the paper conceptualizes this problem through the escalation theory. Traditional escalation theory says that it's assumed to be a more linear ladder and a step-by-step increase in intensity in war. However, due to AI algorithms and autonomous, these system creates new escalation pathways, especially in cyber and system-based warfare, when an attack on data centers can assert dominance not simply by destroying a target, but by collapsing the backbone of the military and civilian functionality at once. So, what problem this creates is that the problem of dual use creates an immediate problem for distinction. Under Additional Protocol 1, the legality of attacking a dual use data center depends not merely on showing that some military relevance is there, but on demonstrating that its military contribution is specific, identifiable, and sufficiently separable from its civilian functions. Now, where the same technical architecture supports command systems, communications, finance, health, and governance, that separation becomes deeply unstable. So, doubt must essentially favor civilian status. But this distinction is becoming increasingly problematic with the use of autonomous systems. Now, coming to the proportion of principle of proportionality. So, principle of proportionality requires that incidental civilian harm should not be excessive compared to the expected military benefit. So, in a network structure, harm does not stop at the point of attack. It unfolds through reverberating consequences, which can be seen in the slide as first direct impact, second indirect impact, and then essentially cumulative impact, which is the downstream failure in dependent systems. So, what this means is that proportionality should just not be restricted to assessing the direct impact of what a strike might do, but also what cumulative degradation over time can be expected, which means that civilian harm must be assessed across the wider system and not just as the initial target. Coming to the next slide, that is principles of military necessity and precautionary obligations. So necessity does not permit whatever is technically efficient. It requires judgment about whether force is truly required and whether lesser forces would suffice. Now, at the same time, precautionary duties remain with human actors, that they must specify and verify targets, minimize civilian harm, and retain the capacity to suspend or cancel operations where autonomous or cyber-enabled action becomes legally unreliable. Now, for
Participants
that reason,
move to the solutions.
Yes, sir. So for that reason, we are essentially proposing our escalation sensitive targeting and end-to-end accountability. So coming to escalation sensitive targeting, the legality of dual use digital infrastructure should be assessed not by immediate military advantage, but also by the target's place within a broader escalation ladder. That is the level of civilian dependence attached to it and the reversibility of that effects. So that is why the paper advances to dynamic target limits, target to ladder mapping, and non-autonomous zones. So non-autonomous zones are settings in which autonomous attack functions should not be included at all, because the environment is either too operationally sensitive or too dense, civilian dense, or strategically escalatory in nature. Then comes dynamic target limits. So dynamic targets limit refers to adjusting permissible target categories, timing, geography, and methods of attack as operational risk changes, especially when a strike may trigger wider civilian harm or political escalation. Second comes target to ladder mapping. So target to ladder mapping means evaluating a target not only for immediate military value, but for also attacking it may how it may move up the escalation ladder. Second, we come to end-to-end accountability. So once the data centers are recognized as dual-use infrastructure capable of generating cascading civilian harm and escalation instability, a stronger basis for end-to-end accountability, a broader understanding of sovereignty that includes algorithmic control and infrastructural dependence, and the more integrated assessment of hybrid operations combining cyber, physical, and automated means. So means that the presumption there has to be of state responsibility, that where an autonomous conduct is launched through a state-linked or defense-linked data architecture, and second
Participant,
that the
kindly
sovereign
conclude. You had exceeded the time.
Yes. To conclude, escalation sensitive targeting and end-to-end accountability from design to deployment is what is required. And for escalation targeting, it requires that the data centers be evaluated as a hybrid operations, and it should be at the topmost of the escalation ladder where non-autonomous weapons should not be allowed to be used.
Thank you, participant. I have a
With
question
that, we
for you.
come to
Do
an end of
you
our
think,
presentation.
am I audible? Audible?
Yes, sir.
Yes, you're
Yeah, I have a
audible now.
question for you. Do we need a new international norms governing attacks on digital and cloud infrastructure?
So, in my opinion, if I
Sir,
can take that one, Ritesh, in
yeah,
my
sure.
opinion, we don't need per se a new law, because the law that is, as it is, it stands technology neutral. However, given that there are certain trends we are noticing, for instance, there is more regional insecurity, there is more global insecurity, which is why we also see trends such as data sovereignty, especially given that we have more civilian objects, including because at our central premise is the data that that personal data. Since we've recognized such a right to privacy and human rights are respected throughout, human fundamental human rights are respected and they're incorporated within the constitution as well as international orders. We don't see a particular change needed within that is the new law per se, but we need more policy actions. For instance, the Tallinn manual, which is essentially a policy document, it is not per se justifiable in quotes, but however, if we integrate more policies towards those demarcated in Tallinn manual, we could move towards a more holistic and more accepted, internationally recognized definitions of these systems, as well as more aligned policies. And the other problem is that there are multiple stakeholders here, and multiple countries have different opinions on whether certain civilian objects should be protected or not. We need to get to a solidified, cohesive definition and agree on those terms. But however, to answer your question in short, we do not need a separate law.
Okay, thank you for your presentation. Yeah, host, we can move it to the next participant.
Thank you for your presentation, guys. On to the next participant. Uh, can I have Atharv Bhakande and yeah, can I have Atharv Bhakande for the next presenter?
Am I visible as well as audible? Host.
Yes, sir.
Good morning, sir. My name is Athar Vatkand. I am a BBLLB second year student. Today I will be presenting my paper's presentation on predictive armor. Can AI anticipate cyber threats? in which I will be going to cover the crisis, the enemy, the gap, the solution, the mechanics, the hurdles, and the path forward. So, what is our key question that can AI really anticipate and automate the fight against cyber threats? As 22,845 crore was lost to cyber fraud in 2024, over 22 lakh cybercrime recorded, and cybercrime rose from 65,893 to 86,128 by NCRB report, where the key problem is that we are really falling behind. The technology is evolving, but we are not. The cyber environment is constant, is complex, and constantly changing. As a result, traditional security which we are used to are becoming ineffective against novel cyber crimes. In new age, AI is used for committing crimes where criminals use swarm GPT, fraud GPT to create advanced phishing and deepfakes. The scale is unprecedented, where a 135 increase in novel social engineering attacks was seen. The blinding speed of AI cannot be counteracted or counterpart with an human. The problem is immense, but there is a solution. From shifting from reaction to anticipation, from shifting from cybersecurity forensic discipline to a predictive science, the main principle is based on two core pillars where PTI or predictive threat intelligence use AI to analyze data, forecast attacks before they even happen, used in smarter defense, use autonomous system to respond to threats at a machine speed level, which would help us in 4.4 million per breach, improves threat detection by 60% and containment time by over 100 days. It's a smarter defense where we are able to predict threats before they are going to come. The main problem behind this solution itself is the black box dilemma. Like, how can we trust an AI we don't understand? 45% of Indians view AI as a potential threat. The solution is XAI or the explainable AI, makes the AI's decision making process transparent and auditable, builds catalyst confidence, and is essential for justifying automated actions. Without XAI, autonomous defense is neither trusted nor accountable. But there is a legal hurdle. Navigating India's DPDP Act 2023 law mandates reasonable security safeguards and strict data privacy. Proactive AI that analyzes user data for threats must comply with purpose. But how we are able to comply? Compliance by design itself and strategic exemptions. Utilize exemptions for national security and public order. A way forward for India, mandate explainable AI, accelerate adaptive AI deployment, invest in deep reinforcement learning to move beyond simple automation to a truly intelligent strategic defense, integrate predictive armor model with NIST cybersecurity framework, focusing on new governed functions to ensure secure enterprise-wide risk management, etc. To conclude, the threat is real, but the given answer is AI. The time present now, as AI is more evolving, the threats are more evolving, deepfakes, etc. is evolving. To fight against AI, we are required to fight with AI itself to counter its speed, so we are able to protect our country more successfully. That would be all. Thank you.
Thank you, participant, for your presentation. I don't have any questions for you. Thanks.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
Uh, Moving on to the next presenter, Aishwarya Pandit and Vaishnavi Shetty.
Hello. So my name is Aishwarya Pandit. Good morning to everybody. Our topic is when seeing is no longer believing, and about what is the crisis regarding the AI generated media and the proof in Indian courts. So to give you guys a background, under Indian law, evidence is governed under was governing under Indian Evidence Act, in which electronic records were added via the IT Act 2000. So in this, there were two particularly sections 65A and 65B were introduced. So in these cases, what happens is if there's a WhatsApp chat or if there is any electronic media, it is transcribed in a particular in a printed form, and then it is provided in the courts for the courts to govern it, for the courts to decide its admissibility, and along with them they submit a particular 65B certificate to basically to a 65B certificate which talks about the custody of that particular document. So in the Indian Evidence Act, electronic records are only proven as a means of secondary evidence and not primary evidence. In the new act, that is the Bharatiya Sakshi Adhiniyam, in this particular law, it is the same that has been preserved as to what it was in the Indian Evidence Act, and along with that, the certification has been retained. Unlike prior one, the act itself gives a proper format of certificate, and there is also an expert testimony attached to it. There is no mention of any AI or as such in this particular law. Now, if we go into the judicial evolution of how did the electronic evidence came into, so there were through series of cases. It started with Navjot Sindhu, where particularly the 65B certificate was made not compulsory. Then in Anwar it was made compulsory. Then again the court said that it should be not be strict compliance with, and finally in Arjun Panidal Khotka it was made that the 65B certificate is compulsory. Now to point out that 65B certificate is only a custody certificate, so it talks about the storage of a particular media, and how that particular device, or how a particular document, if it's a chat or an image or a voice recording or a call recording, is stored. It doesn't talk about how it is produced or what is the details of those particular document. It only talks about how it is stored and how it is then printed at what device and when it is produced on code. So now my partner will take over on what is AI and its implications.
So I'll be talking about AI. The large language models are trained with billions of words. So they can fabricate WhatsApp chats, emails, and confessions, and it cannot be distinguished easily. When we talk about the diffusion models, they can create a proper video and can mimic you perfectly to make any fraudulent phone calls, etc. When we talk about voice cloning, just a 3 to 5 seconds of your audio, and then these AI can produce synthetic speech that can fool even the trained listeners. And I'll be talking about how the world is responding to the AI evidence risk. In United Nations is pushing for digital watermarks so that we can always know if a file was made by a human or a computer. When we talk about the European Union, it created its first set of laws giving people the right to challenge AI in the court. In China, it requires a two-layer authentication. Which labels and watermarks and AI. In India, India is updating its IT rules to define deep fakes legally and requiring social media companies to take down fake audios or videos within 3 hours. Then we have put up some recommendations, which includes digital birth certificates. So the court should require a content authority certificates. This proves that a file has this can prove that a file has a watermark or a digital signature and it isn't showing deep fake. And then we talk about the C2PA standard mandate for all official documents and recordings, so they can't be copied or faked by an AI. And we also talk about how the BSA should be amended, that if a video or audio doesn't have like a real digital stamp, the judge should be allowed to assume it as fake. And we also recommend to mandate AI education for the judges.
To conclude with what we said, is the conundrum around this particular issue is that there is no particular differentiation as to what an image is real or not, and there is no particular law on it nor any particular set of judicial precedents or all such. What and how should a court approach when this particular issue is before a court, or when a particular AI generated image or a video is given in evidence? So it will lead to a lot of discourse as to every image or every chat would be questioned, its authenticity, it will be disputed. And in today's time, majority of matrimonial cases or any cases, WhatsApp chats and all such are a lot of major part of this particular of them. So the major issue with this is there's no particular law as such on this, and when this issue comes into picture, how are we supposed to deal it? So that is how we conclude that there are some strict standards which should have been which should be mandated. There should be a reverse presumption in terms of the Bharatiya Sakshi Adhiniyam, and more watermark standards as per C2PA standards should be adopted by those agencies, it is the AI like chat GPT and all such as also, to make sure that the content that they're creating bears those watermarks and we understand it's AI generated.
Okay. Simon, what do you think for creating this harmful defect should be treated as a distinct criminal offense?
There it should be there. Actually, I think the IT Act governs it. When you create a particular deep fake or all such videos, and if you, it's a cyber crime technically. But again, it doesn't talk about when those our research paper mainly focuses on when this image is tendered in court. So what is the admissibility around it, and how can we deal with the particular document as to its evidentiary value? As for when you create a deep fake, and when it is recently, there have been a lot of cases with celebrities. So in terms of IP law, there has been a lot of courts have taken action where they have given a blanket order against these agencies. And as for videos also, there is strict cyber security. So Data Privacy Act recognizes AI. So because of that, there is stricter laws on this, and there is cyber, if it's considered as a cyber crime, it has not come under criminal offense per se up till now. If it would come, I think it would be a better option, but I think that is a long way to go when we have still not discussed AI in terms of other aspects in the law.
Okay. Thank you for your presentation.
Thank you so much.
On to the next presentation, Ms. Kali Parivartana.
Is my PPT visible?
Yes, participant, it is visual. You can start.
Yes, thank you. So, good morning. Good morning, everyone. The title of my research paper is Environmental Governance of AI Infrastructure Regulating Water Footprints of Data Centers in India. To begin with, artificial intelligence is often discussed in terms of innovation, automation, and economic growth. However, it is less visible. It is less visible is the physical infrastructure behind AI, particularly the data centers and their environmental impact. My paper focuses on one overlooked aspect, that is the water footprint of AI data centers, especially in water-stressed regions like in India. And coming to the problem, the context of the problem, so centers are essential for AI systems because they store, they process, and transmit massive amounts of data. And but at the same time, these facilities also rely on heavily on water-based cooling systems to cool down the service, basically because they run 24/7, they need some kind of cooling. So to water-based cooling systems to maintain server temperatures. So while most discussions regarding the environmental implications on AI data centers focus on carbon emissions and energy consumption, the water usage of data centers remains relatively underexplored, especially in the legal scholarship. So this becomes particularly concerning in India, where many cities are already facing underground, like groundwater depletion, water depletion, and water stress. And coming to the like before coming to the research question, I want to discuss about some recent example, like the real world example. So, for instance, because India is rapidly becoming a data center hub, cities, all the metropolitan cities like Hyderabad, Mumbai, Chennai, and even tier two cities like Vishakhapatnam, all of these cities have been a place to establish data centers in India. In Hyderabad, we like recently multiple hyperscale data centers projects are being developed to support the AI cloud systems and AI services, which requires cooling and therefore significant water use. And also similarly, like recently in Vishakhapatnam, there is a proposal, and also there's a major land has been given to Google Adani data center, which is to be established in Anakapalli region in Vishakhapatnam. So this project is expected to consume substantial amounts of water annually, raising concerns in a region that already faces groundwater stress and also climate variability because of the geographical location it is in. So these examples shows that AI infrastructure is not just digital, but it has real physical environmental consequences at the local level as well. So, coming to my research question, so to what extent are the existing environmental regulatory frameworks in India equipped to address this main issue, such as the water consumption of AI-driven data centers infrastructure? So to answer this, of course, I use a doctrinal policy-based analysis examining the environmental impact assessment frameworks, groundwater regulations, and other policies. I also briefly compared this problem with the EU Union regulations, and these are the key issues, that because of the large scale consumption of we know that water and also energy consumption are the two most important aspects involved, and in water stressed regions, and also there's a legal gap. This creates a legal gap. And coming to my findings, India's environmental laws, such as Environmental Protection Act, Environmental Impact Assessment Framework, and Groundwater Regulations, all of these were primarily designed to regulate traditional industries, right? So, however, data centers are not explicitly recognized as resource intensive industrial facilities as such, if we see the environmental impact assessment classified categories. So even though they consume large amounts of water and energy, they're not classified and they're not recognized as something similar to the industries under environmental impact assessment is my key finding. And as a result, their water consumption is not systematically assessed, and environmental approvals often do not fully capture their impact. And in contrast, the European Union has started, like regarding the same problem, it has started introducing this mandatory reporting obligations and efficiency standards for data centers. Like they have to report to ensure transparency. They have to report how much water and how much energy they are using to, process all of this data for the AI systems and services. Of course, they want to improve transparency and also accountability with these regulations. And to conclude, as AI infrastructure continue to expand, its environmental footprint must also be taken seriously, is what I feel. And the paper argues that sustainability considerations, particularly water usage, must be integrated into the environmental impact assessments, infrastructure planning, and AI governance frameworks. Ultimately, responsible AI is not only about data algorithms, but also about how we use natural resources in supporting the technology, is what I feel. So, recognition, reporting, and integration are three concepts or principles that we should inculcate, is what I believe. Uh, Thank you.
Thank you, participants, for your presentation. I don't have any questions for you.
Thank you, sir.
On to the next participant. Could I have Rizwan Ahmed and Abu Faisal as the next presenters?
Host move ahead with the next. The presenter is absent.
Okay, so for the next presenter, could I have Mr. Yashwant SC and Harish Mayu.
My co-author is unable to attend the meet, so I can present the meet presentation.
Yes, go ahead with your presentation.
Good morning, all. I'm Ashwant. I'm going to present a topic called the data production in AI integrated cross-border telemedicine challenges and regulatory pathway. Where after the COVID-19 pandemic, the telemedicine has emerged as a vital global healthcare solution, allowing the patient to receive the medical consultation from their homes. At the same time, artificial intelligence has evolved beyond being a mere tool and have become an active participant in diagnosis and decision making. This shift from this simple data transfer to the complex algorithmic process raises serious concerns about the data protection, accountability, and patients' right across the international boundaries. This paper highlights the transformation of the AI from passive tool into the active agent. Uh, active agent. Modern AI system can independently identify the medical risk, prioritize the patient, and even excuse me. This raises the complex legal questions regarding the agency and responsibility. The nature of the health data set introduce the new risk and including the medical deepfake, adverse attacks on the diagnosis image, and vulnerabilities in interconnected electronic medical record system. These threats not only compromise the patient's privacy but also impact the reliability of the medical decisions. In India, there are the frame In India, there are the frameworks such as the Digital Personal Data Protection Act 2023 and Ayushman Bharat Digital Mission provides a foundational structure for regulating the digital health data. However, when it comes to the AI integrated cross-border telemedicine, several gaps have been evident. This paper highlights and explores these problems and addresses the solutions, like how Indian DPDP Act 2023 grants a patient a fundamental right to receive the explanation about their AI-based medical decision, which occurs across the international boundaries. This research also provides how data to model pathway, the framework which includes the federated learning, can resolve the conflict between the India's data localization requirements and the need to conduct the AI training across the international boundaries. This research also provides this identifies the essential legal framework which supports the human in loop requirements that holds certified practitioner accountable for their action instead of assigned responsible to the unidentified algorithms. This research explores the mutual recognition agreements enables the India and the international countries to achieve interoperability for AI-based software as a medical device (SAMD) system through their respective medical device regulations. The solutions provided in this research papers are the conflict between the India's data localization requirements and the global nature of the AI training. Traditionally, AI system relies on the centralized data pooling, whereas Indian law seeks to restrict the cross-boundary data transfers. To reconcile this conflict, the paper proposed the federated learning concept as regulatory and technological solution. In this model, AI system travels to the data rather than data being transferred to abroad. This model is trained locally within India and only mathematical updates are shared globally. While using this model, data to model approach ensures that personal data remains within national boundaries and while still allowing the participant in the global AI innovations. To address the next issue, the accountability, the paper emphasized the importance of the human in the loop framework. Under this system, AI serves only as the decision supportive tool, that is the assisting purpose, and the final clinical decision must always be made by the registered medical practitioners. The doctors are The doctors are required to exercise the independent judgment and cannot blindly rely on the algorithmic output. Furthermore, AI system must be transparent, auditable, and supported by the identifiable developers. There should be no assistance. Only assistance should be taken from the algorithms, not wholly blindly rely on the algorithmic output. And the concept of the local anchor ensures that the domestic medical professionals remains legally accountable, prevent responsibility from shifting to anonymous algorithms. The next concept is the Mutual Recognition Agreements, the MRAs, provides India with an partial solution which allows the country to use the conformity assessment conducted by the EU notification bodies and US SDA's tools and AI-enabled medical devices while maintaining the India specific safety requirements. The MRAs enables the India to utilize global SAMDs innovative while establishing algorithmic transparency and accountability system which protects the patient in international AI system, which also secures the private data of the patients. When compared to the international frameworks, particularly to the European Union, the GDPR provides the individuals with rights against fully automated decision making. The EU AI Act classifies the medical AI system as a high risk and requiring the strict oversight on the AI tools. India's current framework lacks such explicit provisions, but also has a potential to evolve by incorporating the global best practices while maintaining its digital sovereignty. This paper also proposes the several recommendations to strengthen the regulatory frameworks. These include introducing explicit duties on the algorithmic transparency through mutual recognition agreements, and this also introduce the explicit duties on algorithmic transparency, ensuring that AI system are explainable and auditable, and adopting the differential privacy techniques for secondary data use in the research. Research. It further suggests that.
Participant, please conclude it.
Sir,
Please conclude it.
yes, sir. In conclusion, India stands at the critical intersection between the technological advancement and legal regulations. While initiatives like the Digital Personal Data Protection and Ayushman Bharat Digital Mission provides a strong foundation, they must evolve to address the complexities introduced by AI integrated cross-border telemedicine. By adopting the innovative approaches like federated learning, human in the loop accountability, and strength and legal safeguards, India can position itself as a global leader in the digital healthcare while ensuring the protection of the patient's rights and data. Thank you for giving the opportunities. Thank you.
Thank you, participant, for your presentation. I don't have any questions for you.
Thank you, sir.
On to the next presenter is Ans Parashar there with Ayush Devangan.
Yes, participant,
Hello.
go ahead with your
Am I
presentation.
audible, sir?
Yes, you are not visible. Kindly share your presentation. So all the participants who have joined now, just keep your PPT loaded. It takes time. Participant,
Am I audible?
yes, you are audible. You can share your presentation. Turn on your camera.
Am I audible?
Yes, you are audible. You can share your presentation.
Are you facing any network issue?
Hosts,
Sir, I
like
cannot
we can
share
go ahead with the
the
next
screen.
if the participant is facing some network issue. We can call him later on. Yeah.
Okay, so on to the next presenter. Uh, could I have Dr. Kuhu Tiwari and Dr. Mahima Tripathi as the next presenters?
Good morning, one and all. I have uploaded my slides. Um, yes.
Yes, you can start.
Okay. So, good morning, one and all. Me and my co-author, Dr. Mahima Tripathi, is here. The topic that we have chosen is from digital access to cultural protection, safeguarding traditional knowledge in India's AI-driven ecosystem. So, this topic is inspired by the forefront taken by India during AI Summit, and before that, so there are two factors involved in this entire presentation. First, considering the fact that India is rich in traditional knowledge and traditional cultural expression, and taking acknowledging this fact not only under intellectual property law with having TKDL at one hand, there is another aspect that we have artificial intelligence, and the government initiative like Bhashini and Adi AI, Adi Vani. Sorry. Uh, m- is my
Go. Yeah, your screen is visible. Go ahead. Yeah.
okay? So uh, yes, I am presenting. Hello.
Dr. Tiwari, you can continue your presentation.
Okay, okay. So, considering the traditional knowledge and cultural expression here in India, although we have TKDL, but the thing is, the two things that are going simultaneously, that is Indian government's initiative under Bhashini and Adivani, wherein the Indian government is trying to have a better translation and access to the tribal culture, their expressions, and digitizing it under this initiative, there is a need for having an equivalent protection of the community rights. Since in the past, there have been many examples of biopiracy, such as in my next slide, this is such as turmeric patent, wherein use of turmeric as antibiotic or antibacterial, having antibacterial properties, are India's traditional cultural expression or traditional knowledge, which is a common community right. However, it was patented in 1995 by the United States. Similarly, neem or use of neem as an antibacterial, having antibacterial property, was again patented by European Union in European Union, and after 7 years of battle, it was demonstrated that, and through the document, it was demonstrated that India, this is part of India's traditional knowledge. And there are n number of examples likewise, like basmati rice also, since although it is not a traditional knowledge part, but yes, there are many examples of biopiracy and piracy of traditional knowledge. So my legal statement or legal problem over here is, when we are, or the Indian government is digitizing and diving into the core culture aspect of the tribal areas, or through a program called Adivani or Bhashini, wherein they will be able to translate the work from their tribal language to the language understandable by local people, and vice versa. There is a need for simultaneous balance of protecting traditional knowledge through linking directly with the TKDL aspect of it. First, second, by having a legislative reform or legislative mechanism, either in a form of sui generis act or under any existing conventional law, wherein a reservation or a provision for acknowledging traditional knowledge can be made. So this is the example of Bhashani in front of you. I'll directly, due to the paucity of time, I'll directly come to uh, The suggestions that I'm making, that legislative mechanism or sui generis system wherein, although at international level, World Intellectual Property Organization has acknowledged that yes, beyond conventional intellectual property, we have traditional cultural expressions also, which is community owned rights, and along with the other international instruments like CBD, wherein it is acknowledged that prior consent should be taken from the community, and accessibility should be there, free accessible, and they should be remunerated for their sharing of the knowledge. Although these things are there in theories, but with digitization through Bhashini and Adivani, Indian government needs to balance it with a legislative mechanism wherein they make a legislation that this provision can be inculcated, and whenever any other country or any third party or any private party wants to use the traditional cultural expression, they should not be allowed, or they should be they should go through a filter mechanism wherein they have to get approval of the tribals, get them acknowledged, and get them economic benefits of whatever they are using. So this is the long story short, and here I'm concluding my presentation. Thank you. Any questions?
Yeah, do you think India should adopt a sui generis legal framework, specifically for the AI use of traditional knowledge?
Yes, in this scenario, I feel that we need a sui generis system. Although we have provision under patent law, there is Biodiversity Act also, but it's scattered. TKDL is only for medicinal purposes. So if we have a sui generis system where acknowledgement of community rights are there, documented irrespective of which field it is belonging to, and then if we have a procedural aspect to it attached to it, which will confirm the accountability part also from the user's end. So I think a sui generis system is required in the presence of the conventional legislations that are there.
Okay, thank you for your presentation.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Could I have the next presenter, Ms. Ruchi?
Actually, I'm trying to upload the PPT, but it's showing me there's an error in uploading. So I'm not able to upload the file.
You can start with your sharing your presentation.
Sure.
Share your screen.
Just,
You are not visible participant.
yes. I hope I'm visible right now.
Yes, you can share your presentation.
I hope my presentation is visible to one and all.
Yes, you can start.
Yeah, sure. So good morning, respected panel. I am Ruchi Marvade, and today I will be presenting Swasthya Setu. Swasthya Setu is an AI-enabled multilingual hospital navigation and public health information chatbot for improving patient access in healthcare services. India has seen rapid technological growth in the healthcare sectors through the governmental missions such as ABDM, also known as Ayushman Bharat Digital Mission, and through the introduction of digital health identity systems like ABHA, also known as Ayushman Bharat Health Accounts. As of 2026, 8.79 crore people out of 1.4 billion people of India's population have successfully created their ABHA IDs. However, when we look at the scale of population, a significant portion of this population still remains outside of this ecosystem. Now, one might ask why. So, the answer to that question is beneath these digital transformations lie challenges. Challenges such as patient navigation in hospitals, lack of digital awareness, lack of digital health scheme awareness as well. absence of interactive patient information kiosks in the hospitals to help patients understand their hospital, understand what their government is providing them. And for this, today I present before you Swasthya Setu. As earlier said, it is an AI-enabled hospital information chatbot. What Swasthya Setu basically does is, it is a conversational AI first of all, and it presents solutions to the patient which raise patient queries raised by the patients. It also aims to reduce workload on the front desk staff of the hospital by addressing the repetitive administrative queries as well. While studying Swasthya Setu, while forming Swasthya Setu, there were 4 study objectives. First was to design a conversational AI-based information system. Second was to prepare a system that would actually help in patient awareness. Third was to make a system that would assist patients in navigating the hospital seamlessly. And fourth, the very important part, was to explore how an AI-enabled system could coexist with hospitals and the patients. Now, as you see, it is the system architecture of Swasthya Setu. It starts with the patient or the user, that is the end user of Swasthya Setu. And they are directed to Swasthya Setu interface when they interact with Swasthya Setu or the kiosk. Next is the conversational AI engine layer. And below that is the knowledge base. Knowledge base is a very crucial part of Swasthya Setu, as a good quality knowledge base will help in performance optimization of Swasthya Setu to provide reliable and true information to its patients and users. Next is the dashboard system, which is right now at the moment, it is a proposed conceptual design, but that dashboard will provide insights to the hospital administrators to identify if there are any gaps within the system and also to see how Swasthya Setu and patients are interacting with each other.
Participant, your slides are not moving.
Now, are they moving?
No, it's not moving. You can no need to come up with a view option. You can just go back and scroll down. Yes, yes. Yeah, now it's
Was it
moving.
visible? Yeah,
Yes.
so sorry. So these were the objectives of the study. This is the system architecture as I explained. Moving on are some of the key features of Swasthya Setu. Till now, we have seen how it is benefiting the patients. But Swasthya Setu also aims to build a symbiotic relationship between the hospital and itself. So it also gives hospitals some benefits. What are those benefits? There are 3 major benefits. First is the reduction of the front desk staff, reduction of the load on the front desk staff. Second is the standardized information delivery, which will happen through the knowledge base. And third is the administrative insights, which will be provided by the dashboard. Here on the top right corner is the Swasthya Setu prototype chat, wherein here it clearly states that is a disclaimer that this system only and only provides informational guidance and guidance for health schemes. It does not in any way provide any kind of medical diagnosis or treatments. That is, it does not venture into the clinical aspect of healthcare, which is very, very important. On the bottom left corner is the dashboard prototype. It shows metrics such as patient satisfaction through Swasthya Setu, how Swasthya Setu is interacting with the patients, what kind of awareness it has spread within its community, and what needs to be done. Along with this, there are certain limitations of this study at the moment. Very first is that it is a conceptual prototype. It requires real-time data, and for that, it requires integration with the hospital system to give real-time metrics. And very important is the user testing in the hospital environments. For future scope, the important part is the voice-enabled chatbot for patients, which is the phase 2 of this project, wherein The patients can voice out their queries instead of typing in their regional languages and get their replies. So that patients with low digital literacy or patients with any kind of disability can also be included in the system.
Participant, you can
In
move to the conclusion.
Yes, so in conclusion, Swasthya Setu, as the name suggests, Swasthya as in health, Setu as in bridge, aims to create a bridge between healthcare, government, and its patients, because healthcare is for everybody and its main aim is to make healthcare accessible and improve patient engagement and patient empowerment. Thank you.
Thank you, participant, for your presentation. I don't have any questions for you.
Thank you. Okay, thank you
Oh,
so much, sir.
thank you. Could I have Mr. Ayush Devangan as the next presenter?
Can I present next because there is some glitch?
Sure, sure. Moving on to the next participant, could I have Ms. Astha Yadav and Mr. Kunal as the next presenters?
Yes, surely. I'll upload the PPT. Should I be presenting the screen?
Yeah, you'd
Hello.
have to present your screen to show the PPT.
Yeah. Is my screen visible?
Yeah,
Yes.
it is visible. It will start.
Good morning. This is Astha and Kunal, and we are here to present on the topic Beyond the Eurocentric Lens. Artificial intelligence has moved far beyond the realm of being merely useful today. It dictates everything from resource allocation to global governance. With such immense power, it is imperative that these systems remain completely unbiased. In reality, however, AI acts as a global gatekeeper, actively dictating the narratives that societies will eventually accept as absolute truths. Because its development is currently governed primarily from a Eurocentric perspective, modern AI is heavily biased towards Western norms, subtly undermining and erasing indigenous practices. This dynamic mirrors historical exploitation, as data is extracted from the global south simply to be commodified in northern tech hubs. Consequently, AI generates curated narratives designed to reinforce colonial legacies rather than reflecting a neutral humanity. Furthermore, because AI does not operate in a vacuum, these foundational inequalities are never confined to a single system. This interconnectedness leaves us with a critical thread that frames the rest of our discussion: the mechanics of bias spillover. This geographical imbalance leads to bias spillover, where Western centric values are inappropriately applied to different cultural, political, and religious contexts. The standardization of the Internet leads to cognitive standardization, where non Western problems are discarded or treated as abnormal.
Moving forward, we have the methodology of this research article. We explore the roots and bias of AI by carefully analyzing its response to social, political, or legal context. After highlighting these concerns, we move forward towards the laws and measures that have already been taken and how we can implement it practically. Now, moving forward to the first prompt. The first prompt, when inquired AI about multi-generational living in a household, it displays its stark bias. As being foreign to non-Western problems, it still evaluates it on the basis of individualism, reluctance to multi-generalism, and psychological framing, as it considers everything on the frame of the Western bias. This is not independent event. It spills over into multiple domains, such as it de-evaluates collectivism, as it is not a modern framework of Western bias. It also considers it an objective truth to not live in a multi-generational household, as evident in the prompt response. Additionally, it fails to consider non-Western practices and also frames and goes to the extent of framing this as a compromise. This highlights it on a social perspective. Further, moving on, it is not limited to this. It also goes to political frame as well. As when asked about multi-party system, the AI shows its bias towards the binary reductionism, as it only considers two-party system it is present in the Western system. Here, it fails to consider the multidimensionality of a culture where variety is present and there is diverse people, where only two party cannot comprehend the entirety of its requirement. It believes an absolute authority and the winner takes all philosophy rather than collectively approaching a shared goal to the best extent. Also, it goes as far as to treat multi-party as fragmentation, as it does not believe that as it cannot comprehend the idea of voting for different state party and voting for a different national party. It does not serve the interests of its Western bias, as it is not prevalent in their state. Further, we have, after highlighting all this, we have the third prompt, which examined it on a social legal perspective, where when asked about a very serious religious problem, it could not adhere uh, to the complexity as in our legal constitution, as it considers it on from a Western bias where legal issues are not very prevalent in relational conflicts. Here, it not only is unable to comprehend the depth of its concern, as it does not take it seriously. It evaluates it on the strange frames of Western philosophies such as Stoicism and Aristotle's. This leads to a large problem as it ignores non-Western problem. It fails to consider the relational and value depth as present in different societies. It also ignores legal systems just to give an appropriate answer according to its Western bias. This is very critical and this is very problematic, which adhering to which many legal frameworks have been set up, including the DPDP Act of 2023, African Union Malobalo Convention, and New Zealand Canada Indigenous Data Sovereignty Protections. Now, these are steps which have to be implemented in order to ensure a very pluralistic AI setup, as not only Western bias can be prevalent in its nature. The technical solutions which have been discussed in the scope of this paper is infrastructure localization. Having our data and processing it internally is the best way to move forward, as it is free from bias of the Western culture or any foreign culture. Further, we have to train and protect our heritage by processing it via natural native models. Training on English skips a lot of information and heritage. And not only this, for to make AI accessible to everyone so that everyone can be well represented, we need active token parameters or AI accessible, which are to areas of lower internet connectivity, such as server and gray
Conclusion.
Sorry.
Move to the conclusion part.
After understanding
Yes.
the problem of cognitive standardization as in the scope of this, we move towards its solution lies in the sovereign AI frameworks couple robust legal protections with localized data, infrastructures to restore control over cultural and digital heritage. A coordinated multi-layer approach can foster AI that reflects multiple cultural perspectives, ensuring equitable representation and autonomy. Reclaiming knowledge requires transition from extractive models to sovereign infrastructure that treats local heritage and languages as sacred assets rather than mined commodities. Thank you.
Thank you, participant, for your presentation. I don't have any questions for you.
Thank you for your presentation. Moving on to the next participant, Mr. Mayuk De.
Hello, is my presentation visible?
Yes, your presentation is visible, but you are not visible.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. I think
It's
now it's visible. Okay. Fine. Actually, I would like to take you forward in this presentation by what I have just heard from the previous presenter, basically the bias that they were talking about. And this is the bias is what I am targeting in this presentation, basically. Sometimes we do have a topic-based search in AI, and it may have happened to many of us that we may feel that AI may have a bias discrimination or a specific topic-based fairness in some direction. For now, we use good prompting or prompt engineering, as we can say, in order to remove the problem with some success. This bias-based discrimination may partly come from the pre-training modules, that is the LLM modules that basically AI uses now. The problem, which is the epistemic distortion in AI, the AI learns from the epistemic unequal data as LLM treats all the data sources as informationally equal. Thus, the training corpora bias and the misinformation and the low credibility, thus the epistemic distortion in AI develops rather. Now, about the research question in this particular paper, can epistemy help in the AI training data and its governance? Now, this epistemy that I am talking about, which is the Mimamsa concept, is not new for AI. Many researchers have done their bit in this particular thing. But I have here, as you can see in the presentation, very new papers, but none of them have discussed what we are going to discuss here in respect to the training module that we want to develop from this epistemy. So now going to the Mimamsa epistemic framework. See, the Mimamsa epistemic frameworks is strengthened by basically 6 forms of knowledge or pramana, which is the perception, inference, comparison, postulation, non-apprehension, and the verbal testimony. Here, verbal testimony is something which is structurally free from the individual bias. Two terms I have used in the paper. One is the Swataha Pramanya and the Parataha Pramanya. Swataha Pramanya is basically the intrinsic validity of knowledge, and Parataha Pramanya is basically the external validation. AI output for now depends upon the external validation of the knowledge, which is the Parataha Pramanya. I have, as you can see, given you a flow diagram, how we can integrate it by unfiltered corpora and these all things. We will talk in the next slide about how we can relate it into the AI. Now, transitioning this particular concept, this philosophical concept into the AI is the PWTA concept, which I have presented in this paper. It is nothing but a training data which is collected from the corpus, and we do a epistemic classification. We set up the data set tiers, and then basically lastly we have a weighted training. Basically, I have given some example in this slide. As you can see, the tier 1, these all things has been in depth discussed in my paper. Now the PWTA architecture, the training corpus is basically stratified into 4 tiers by the epistemic validity, where the sources are filtered, tiered, tagged, and weighted before any gradient update reaches the model. The raw corpus, as you can see, I have given a PWTA pipeline here. The raw corpus ingested, then the Apatva filter is acted, where maybe the tier 4 may be rejected, and by the leftover tires that we have there, we can follow the latest statistical formulas like the principal component analysis and these all things that we do in the training, obviously, and by weighting them in the respective of the neo approach, we can basically develop a weighted training model for them, and this way we hope to diminish the epistemic distortion, and it can be reduced that way. Now going forward, now in terms of governance, see, AI, as AI is basically a yantra. In philosophy it is known as a yantra. It lacks the ichha, adhikar, and the phalbhoga. Obviously it is an inert jar. So here law cannot be employed, but law can be employed where? Over the developers, deployers, institutions who help us to use AI as an instrument. Now, going to the conclusion, going to the conclusion, here in this paper, what I have given is an epistemically responsible AI PWTA, which introduces the Pramana weighted training architecture, proposes neo-operations, establishes a apatva filter and kartavya accountability tagging. AI as a Karana has been discussed in the paper, and it interfaces with what EU Act and India DPDA Act, GDPR, and India AI Mission says. Basically, all these acts talks about the quality of the data, but none specifies how the quality can be determined. Here, basically, what in this paper we have done is basically we have tried to give you that how this quality can be seen using a very higher ancient Indian episteme, which is the Mimamsa episteme. The final flow is given here, the Mimamsa episteme, where the neo-Aparosio standard is reached, the Apatva filter with the Kartavya tagging. Likewise, we can clear up what is unwanted and the PWTA weighted training with the calibrated weight. This way, we form to clear the responsible AI, which is having reduced bias and provisions tracked. Thank you. We hope that the ancient episteme can inform and design the future of the AI and the knowledge systems. Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you, participant. Do you think traditional knowledge can framework address contemporary issues like algorithmic bias and accountability?
Yes, obviously it can. Obviously it can because as if you can see in my paper, basically the quality here, why we are using this ancient thing is depending we are trying to basically filter which knowledge is basically valid, which can be used in the AI system. There are numerous folds which basically I have explained it in my paper also. So using that, it can be done. I have totally in depth. I have given it in my paper. It can be done.
Okay, thank you for your presentation.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for your presentation. Mr. Ayush Devangan, you're next.
Am I audible and visible?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Good morning, everyone, respected panel members. So, I'd first of all start with a question: who gets to decide the rules that govern your life? Today, those rules are increasingly written in code. I will be discussing a phenomenon known as algorithmic colonization. So, we are going to explore how the aggressive extraction of data from the global south combined with the importation of deeply biased Western AI is creating a new era of digital subjugation. Most importantly, we will outline why establishing digital sovereignty is no longer just a technical goal, it is our most urgent legal imperative. So let's first of all define the phenomenon. To understand where we are, we must define our terms. In 2014, scholars Nick Colry and Ulysses Mejias introduced the concept of data colonialism, and they argue that just as historical colonialism extracted natural resources, today's tech monopolies extract our raw data to build their capital. Building on this foundation, cognitive scientists Abeba Brihan introduced algorithmic colonization between 2019 and 2020. This happens when Western values and assumptions are hard coded into AI models, which are then exported back to the global south. The power dynamic is entirely asymmetrical. Developing nations are treated merely as raw data mines and testing grounds, completely excluded from the architecture of AI creation. The root cause of this systemic failure is the weird data bias. Global AI models overwhelmingly train on data from the population that are Western, educated, industrialized, rich, and democratic. To prove this, a massive 2024 landmark study evaluated five major large language models, including the GPT-4 and Llama 3. The researchers tested the AI against the World Value Survey using data from the 65 countries and over 94,000 participants. The results were alarming. The AI default responses aligned almost exclusively with the United States and UK cultural norms. They completely fail to comprehend the social economic realities, linguistic nuances, and the moral frameworks of Asian or African contexts. This isn't just a glitch, it is the epistemic erasure of the global south. And this bias has fatal real world consequences. Let's look at computer vision and healthcare. In February 2018, the famous gender shade study proved that the commercial facial recognition AI had a massive 34.7% error rate for darker skinned women compared to an incredibly low 0.8% error rate for the lighter skinned men. Furthermore, a critical October 2019 study analyzed a healthcare algorithm used on 200 million US patients. Because the AI used historical healthcare spending as a proxy for actual health need, it falsely concluded that marginalized black patients were healthier than equally sick privileged patients. Importing this uncalibrated, historically biased models directly into the global south guarantees systemic misdiagnosis and lethal source misallocation. Beyond healthcare, foreign AI abstracts poverty and actively excludes the vulnerable. Consider Kenya's biometric ID system, which is known as the Huduma number, rolled out in 2019. It was powered by imported European technological frameworks. The system required digital fingerprints and foundational documents. But what happened to a population of manual laborers whose fingerprints were worn away or marginalized group historically denied paperwork? They became digitally invisible because of this framework. So the governance gap. So how do we protect citizens from this algorithmic overreach? The European Union has set the international baseline. Enforced in May 2018, the GDPR's Article 22 grants citizens the fundamental right not to be subjected solely to automated decision making. Furthermore, Recital 71 established that a legally binding right to an explanation. If an AI denies you a loan or a job, the corporation must open the black box and explain the logic behind the decision to exclude you. Unfortunately, the global south is failing to implement these essential firewalls, prioritizing corporate innovation over human rights. In August 2018, Brazil passed the LGPD, initially mandating that human beings must review automatic decisions, but under corporate pressure in 2019, they amended the law, legally allowing algorithms to audit their algorithms. Similarly, India's DPDP Act, passed in August 2023, contains absolutely zero statutory rights protecting its citizens against automatic AI profiling. The shield that protects a European citizen does not exist for an Indian or Brazilian citizen. Developing nations often attempt to fight this colonization via data localization, forcing companies to keep their raw data within their boundaries. But this is a paradox. As of 2023, countries like India generate roughly 20% of the world's global data. Yet, the global south collectively holds less than 3% of world's AI compute and data center infrastructure. You cannot train an AI without compute. Ultimately, a biased algorithm running a local sovereign server is still a biased algorithm. So, what is the solution to this? To achieve true digital sovereignty, national policy must radically shift from data localization to model localization using what we call the TAC framework. Transplantation. Directly importing Western AI yields zero sovereignty and guarantee bias. But if you talk about the adaptation, it will be fine tuning imported models with local representative datasets, which will offer more and moderate sovereignty. But our
Participant,
ultimate
come to the conclusion.
Yes, sir. But our ultimate strategic goal must be creation, building indigenous algorithms from scratch, training entirely on local languages and values. This is the only path to full digital sovereignty. But we cannot wait decades for indigenous model to be built. So, inspired by the March 2024 EU AI Act, the Global South must immediately mandate pre-deployment validity testing before any foreign AI is deployed in high-risk sectors like the credit, health, or policy. It must empirically prove its fairness across local demographics with a regulatory sandbox, and if it failed, it must be banned. We must reject pure data localization, demand legal rights against automated decisions, and build our own sovereign infrastructure. We cannot allow our digital future to be written by someone else's code. Thank you so much.
Thank you, participant, for your presentation. I don't have any questions for you.
Thank you so much.
All right, on to the next presentation. Miss Manika, are you ready to present?
Participant, kindly present your screen. Participant, you are not audible and visible. Okay, host, we can move ahead with the next.
Okay. The next participant. Could we have Miss Dr. Deepthi Susan for the next presenter?
We have Miss Menaka Nair.
Yeah, Manika Nair. I thought Manika Nair was not joining.
Okay, Menaka Nair is present.
Uh,
Menaka Sapan,
yeah,
Sapan
yeah,
is not responding. Yeah. Yes, we
yeah.
can go ahead with Menaka Nair.
Hello, good morning. Can I start?
Yes, you can start.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Manika Nair Shastaram. I'm here to present before you on my topic, copyrights in the era of generative AI and the significance of human authorship. The fundamental understanding of copyright is rooted in the idea of original content, human authorship, and a permanent and tangible material to be copyrighted. It stems from the idea of natural rights, incentives, utilitarianism, and also to an extent to the idea of identity, personhood, and labor. Here, nowhere in history have we had a situation where we fundamentally ask the question of whether or not the author is a human or not. There have been circumstances where machine-based in development has led to asking a question of whether the work is human-made or machine-made, but not to the extent of generative AI. Two such instances are the creation, evolution of photography, and secondly, the idea of computers. But when photography came into place, or when the digital cameras, advanced cameras, or photography technically entered the market, it was not a concern of how the author is a human or a machine as much as computers were. And the degree of human authorship versus machine authorship has only increased now. I would like to bring the attention of everyone to the point that was raised by the US Register of Copyrights, former US Register of Copyrights, Mr. Abraham, who went on to say that the question is of work as whether it's actually human authorship and whether computer is merely an assistant or whether your traditional understanding of authorship has changed given making a machine do your work. But this had given way to our realization that it is only assisting you in the sense that you have to still put in your work. This question still persists. To solve this question, we can trace our history into how photographs came into being, how photography came into being. In the case of Baroque Isles Lithographic Company versus Saroni, wherein the question was usually copyrights are associated with an image when painted or sketched using pencil or charcoal. But now we have a machine that can capture that image for you. Does that account for copyright protection? And because is there a human author or a machine one? In that, it was positively described that and categorically stated that entirely from his own original mental conception, to which he gave visible form by posing said Oscar Wilde. The question in this case was the picture of Oscar Wilde taken by the photographer, which was misappropriated by the plaintiff company. Now, in this particular case, the court went on to say that when the photographer poses, arranges the costume, draperies, and other various accessories, and takes a photograph, it is as much as a matter of arrangement and representation made entirely by representation or arrangement of the scene, which takes intellectual work, giving the copyright to the photographer, and it is not a machine-made work; it's a human-made work. Now, the question, as I've already told you, is whether AI can be an author. Initial understanding and initial decisions regarding this came from the United States Copyright Office, which rejected applications for AI as an author. First being, apologies, First being the case of Zari of the Dawn, which is shown on the slide in the top left-hand corner. Zari of the Dawn was a comic book that was written, but the images were generated using artificial intelligence, Midjourney to be specific. And when applied for copyright, it was rejected, and later a partial copyright was granted for the text that was written, the content, the storyline, the text that was written was given copyright protection, but the images were not given copyright protection. Later, another image generated using a machine called Creative Machine, developed by Dr. Stephen Thaler, made an image called A Recent Entrance into Paradise, given in the lower left hand corner of the slide. Now, this image is purely machine generated. It was an autonomous machine that generated this image. And the United States Copyright Office refused to grant copyright, given that it was claimed to be an AI-generated image, and the copyright was to be in the name of the AI. Now, from this, it was categorically stated that AI cannot be an author, and this has been the stand all over the world. Now, the tricky bit of the whole conversation, or the whole thing, is that internationally, the Berne Convention, European Union protocols, national protocols all over the world, all identify author as a human person. Now, if the author is a human person, AI cannot be one. And this decision from the United States Copyright Office only reiterates that AI cannot be an author. However, there is a difference between AI created work and AI assisted work. In AI assisted work, or how law can look at AI assisted work, is when an individual, a creator, an author, has done work using the assistance of AI. There are a few jurisdictions that have led the world in starting this discussion of how to incorporate AI, generative AI content within the framework of copyright. And two such landmark decisions came from one from South Korea and one from China. In South Korea, an AI generated or AI edited work was given copyright protection, called the work was called AI Soro's Wife. And in this, human selection and arrangement was considered to give copyright protection. In Li versus Liu, this comes from China, the Beijing International Internet Court. They also recognized the work that was AI generated, which actually reflected the original intellectual work of the individual, the author, and gave the author copyright protection. The same logic was applied by the United States Copyright Office in the case of a single piece of American cheese, which was done by a program called Invoke by the CEO of the same company, wherein this image was generated and all essential parts of the image was rearranged, restructured, remodeled, which gave it enough standing as arrangement and coordination for the purposes of intellectual creation, making it a copyrightable material. So the world, as it started from the perspective of only human authorship, to we have understood that you can use AI as a tool, AI as something that can be a medium to convey your intellectual creation, your thoughts, and your work. So how do we determine AI authorship? So far, there is no conclusive regulation beyond the fact that there has to be arrangement, there has to be human creativity and human intellectual conception clearly seen. There are essential elements that need to be considered before you determine authorship. First of all, the extent of AI control. To what extent does AI consume your prompt, the prompting that you give, and what extent of control in managing the outcome does this AI system give you? Is it limited or is it wider? Is it as specific as basic ChatGPT or as wide as Midjourney and Stable Diffusion? This can determine the extent of human involvement, human contribution, and intellectual scope that an AI system will allow to determine whether this copyrightable work requires, requires copyright protection, or is it even capable of being considered under merit? AI as a tool, when we consider AI as a tool, we can look at the first scope, whether the AI is a limited version or gives
Participant
much
come
more
to your
wider
solutions
control.
and suggestions.
Yes, this is the conclusion and solutions. So, so if AI is a tool, we can verify using the idea of what's the scope of the AI as well. Thirdly, most importantly, the author should disclaim what extent of AI has been used to generate this particular content. Is it and it should not be cited as an author, but the extent of AI use should be clearly mentioned. Once the above three are cleared, you can determine human contribution and human intellectual consumption to determine the authorship of any AI or any content that has been generated using AI assistance. Human authorship is key for copyright protection all over the world, and it does not seem to change, or it will not change in the near future. We'll have to wait for the technology to evolve. We'll have to see how humans interact with it. Current laws also continue to establish the same, and countries all over the world have not yet decided to come out with a clear framework, except maybe Japan and Korea in this regard, and also China, to determine how you will go about having uh, uh, about having copyright attributed to content generated using AI. We should not be reactive. We should take a proactive step in this matter, but creating a final stand would be difficult. If we follow the above mentioned principles, we may be able to have a conclusive solution to this problem. Thank you. Thank you for your patient hearing.
Okay, so participant, I have a short question for you. Specifically, when I looked into the Copyright Act, like for the India, not only in India but across the world, the stand is very
Yes.
clear. The authorship definition clearly specifies person, and the person here implies a human being, living human. Now
Yes.
also, like as you well mentioned, that there are also the rights subjective to the moral rights, and only a living person can have the moral rights. Like a
Yes.
non-living being cannot have those. So my question
Yes.
to you is, in a country like where let's say for the case of a Sophia has been recognized as a human, like as a citizen of the
Yes.
Saudi nation. So now
Yes.
when a citizenship is being recognized,
Yes.
he is having all the rights of a person. Now, if
Yes.
Sophia someday develops some literary work or the artistic work, or that can be any work under LDMA, and she
Yes.
claims those, whether the personality right would be subjected to her or not.
Um, Ideally, so given that, legally speaking, based on the fact that that Sophia has been given the category, the recognition of a citizen as a human, it is only fair that you say by the backing of citizenship or by the backing of recognition, this work would be given copyright protection. However, there is still to be learnt much in this regard, because this is one example. This is a sui generis example of one humanoid being given the status of a human, which cannot be the standard set to determine the future decisions regarding a humanoid. And this is not coming from any jurisdiction that is actually AI or artificial intelligence, not dominant, at least research intensive. This is a one-off example. And even the origin points of Sophia does not have not recognized the identity of Sophia as a human being, or the human rights have not been attributed, or that identity has not been attributed to her. So it's safe to say, yes, in this hypothetical, yes, it is possible to give a recognition in that law, according to Saudi law, but not necessarily, it cannot be a standard, because there's much to be learned in regards to how humanoids function, how much of human intervention or how much of autonomous work they do, and how other jurisdictions are willing to look into this matter too, especially jurisdictions that do exclusive and extensive research in this area. And given that these regions that do exclusive and extremely well-funded, well-supported research in tech and AI-related humanoid softwares, since they have not taken a stand in this matter, as I told you, hypothetically it is possible, but we will not be able to set a standard just based on one element. We'll have to look into other factors as well. I hope I have answered your question.
All right. Thank you for your presentation.
Thank you a lot.
Thank you, ma'am. On to the next presenter, Dr. Deepthi Susan. Are you there?
Dr. Deepthi, share your presentation. Dr. Deepthi, you are not visible and audible.
Should we move on to the next participant, sir?
Yes, we can move on to the next.
Okay, so Miss Gloria Pearl, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
All right, start presenting. Thank you.
Hello.
Yes, you can start your
Can you
presentation.
see me? Yeah, one second. So, good morning, everyone. I'd like to begin my presentation with a small quote by the International Committee of the Red Cross. Even in war, there are rules. But in today's world, the real question is, can these rules be applied to machines rather than humans? My name is Gloria, and today I'll be presenting on autonomous weapons and the future of international humanitarian law. Military technology has evolved at a staggering pace, from firearms to nuclear weapons, and now the integration of AI into weapons. One of the most significant developments today is the emergence of autonomous weapon systems, defined by the ICRC as systems capable of selecting and engaging targets without human intervention after activation. The United Nations General Assembly, along with the CCW and a group of governmental experts, have affirmed that international humanitarian law applies to these systems. International humanitarian law, or the law of armed conflict, primarily consisting of the one second Geneva Conventions and their additional protocols, is built on core principles such as distinction, proportionality, military necessity, humanity, precaution and attack, and prohibition of unnecessary suffering. However, these principles were developed with human judgment in mind and aren't meant for machines. This creates a challenge in applying the international law to autonomous weapons because it raises a serious concern as to whether they may or may not be able to distinguish between civilians and combatants or identify surrendered or wounded personnel. My hypothesis is that the existing international humanitarian law is inadequate to regulate autonomous weapons and requires reform. This is examined through three questions to see whether the current international law is adequate to regulate autonomous weapons, what legal gaps exist, and is further reform necessary. The Geneva Convention and additional protocol regulate warfare. Article 36 states that states have to review weapons to ensure compliance with international law and currently serves as the primary provision for regulating autonomous weapons. Key principles include the principle of distinction, which requires parties to make distinction between civilians and combatants, and that attacks are to be made only against military personnel. Uh, the proportionality principle, which prohibits attacks where there is excessive harm to civilians, and the principle of humanity, which mandates that all personnel, including enemy combatants, be treated with respect, dignity, and humanity, strictly prohibiting torture and cruel treatment. States are obligated to follow these principles at all times. The Martin Clause further extends protection based on the principles of humanity and public conscience, especially in situations not covered by existing law. One second. Yeah, so a major issue is, however, accountability. So if an autonomous weapon violates the law, who is to be held responsible? The state, commanders, operators, or programmers? While responsibility can be assigned, it becomes difficult to determine the intent, negligence, and foreseeability. The doctrine of command responsibility holds leaders accountable for actions of subordinates. However, this becomes unclear with autonomous weapons because they lack intent, cannot disobey orders, and are not human agents, which the doctrine assumes human agency and control, and autonomous weapons lack that. Uh, as emphasized by the group of governmental experts, responsibility cannot be transferred to machines, so assigning it remains a complex issue. Now, this brings forth the need for reform, as autonomous weapons lack human judgment required to apply international humanitarian principles effectively. Principles like distinction, proportionality rely on contextual and moral decision making, which machines cannot replicate. Additionally, Article 36 is insufficient on its own, and there is no clear legal definition as to what an autonomous weapon system is. And the ICRC and the group of governmental experts have emphasized multiple times the importance of meaningful human control. So, to address these issues, several reforms are necessary. Ensuring meaningful human control at all stages of development, deployment, and operation, which will allow humans to intervene and deactivate the weapon when necessary. strengthening Article 36 through clearer safeguards, transparency, and mandatory compliance, imposing restrictions on unpredictable or human data.
Participant, come to the conclusion.
Yes, sir, I'm almost done. And establishing clear legal frameworks of accountability, liability, and enforcement. These are essential to establish international humanitarian principles and to ensure that they are applied and effectively enforceable. To conclude, I'd like to state that while international humanitarian law provides a strong legal foundation, it is not currently fully equipped to regulate autonomous weapon systems. So, I'd like to end the presentation by stating that technology may evolve, but humans have a responsibility in warfare which must remain constant. Thank you.
Yeah, participant, do you think there should be an international treaty necessary to govern the use of autonomous weapons?
Yes, sir, I do. Also, currently, the United Nations General Assembly, as well as the group of governmental experts, are working on making a treaty. They have come together for multiple meetings, which I have mentioned in my paper. And they've mentioned the needs and suggestions that I also mentioned right now.
Okay, thank you for your presentation.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, on to our next presenter. Miss Manika Sapam, if you are not able to present, then we'll move on to the next presenter. Am I audible, Miss Manika?
So 1 minute I want to say. This is my first time, so I feel some nervous also. Hello.
Participant, your presentation is not visible.
Oh, sir, I'm sorry. I don't know how to upload my PPT. That's why this is my first time. So
Okay, you can present without your PPT, but after the presentation, you have to send your PPT via mail. We will look into it. Okay, you can
okay,
present.
sir. Okay,
Yes,
sir.
you can start.
Good morning, everyone. My topic is artificial intelligence and right to privacy, legal challenge in the digital age. So, the first of all, artificial intelligence is rapidly transforming many sectors like healthcare, finance, transportation, and law enforcement. It helps in improving efficiently, making better decisions, and automating tasks like were earlier done by the humans. However, the growing use of AI also raises serious concerns about how personal data is collected and uses and protected. So while AI offers many benefits, it also creates important challenge for protecting individuals' privacy rights. So the what is artificial intelligence actually is? Intelligence includes technologies like machine learning and the deep learning, which allow systems to learn from the data and make decisions. And these systems depends on a large amount of the data, including personal information, to work effectively. While this helps improve serious and efficiency, it also creates risks to privacy because too much personal data is being used. So AI is powerful and useful, but it also raises important concern about the data protections. Okay, let's move on to the next. Uh, uh, The next slide is the um, explain the concept of the right of the privacy. The right to privacy means that an individual has control over their personal information and how is it is shared. So it is important because it protects a personal dignity, freedoms, and the personal life from unnecessary interference. In India, the right to privacy is recognized under Article 21 of the Constitution, which guarantee the right of the life and the personal liberty. So privacy is just not a personal concern, but a fundamental legal rights. Uh, and the next discuss about the constitutional recognition of the right to privacy in India. In the landmark case of the justice case with the Swami versus Union of India 2017, the Supreme Court of India clearly said that the right to privacy is a fundamental right under the Article 21. In simple terms, this means every individual has the right to control their personal information and life with dignity and without unnecessary interference. So this judgment is especially important today because technologies like AI collected and use large amount of personal data. So it's not only restricted government action but also influence private companies to handle data responsibly. So overall, this case norms the foundations of privacy protections in India and is very relevant in the digital age. Let's discuss the conflict between AI and the privacy. AI systems collects and analyze a large amount of personal data like our online activities and the preference, but the issue is that many people are not fully aware of how their data is being used or shared. Because of this, there are risks like surveillance and the misuse of information. So while AI is useful, it also creates serious privacy concerns. Let's move on to the importance of why privacy is important in the digital age. Privacy helps protect us from the identity like theft and fraud by keeping our personal data secure. But it also allow people to express their thoughts freely without fear of being constantly monitored. Most importantly, privacy builds trust in digital systems like online banking, mobile apps, and which we use every day in the life. So let's.
Participant come to the conclusion.
Okay, sir. Okay, to conclude, artificial is a powerful and useful technology that brings many benefits. However, at the same time, it also creates serious risks to individuals' privacy due to the extensive use of personal data. Therefore, there is a strong need for effective laws and the ethical use of artificial intelligence to ensure that personal data is properly protected. Overall, a balance must be maintained between the technological innovations and the protections of the individual's rights in the digital age. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, participant, for your presentation. I don't have any questions for you. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much, sir.
Dr. Deepthi Susan, could you upload your PPT and start presenting? Dr. Deepthi, are you there?
Yes, participants, share your screen. Dr. Deepthi, you are not audible, Dr. Deepthi. You are visible, but you are not audible. Host, can you, like, is she
Yes.
audible to you?
No, she's not.
Okay. Kindly,
Uh,
kindly unmute Dr. Deepthi. No, you are not audible. You are just visible, you are not audible. Okay, yeah, there can be some technical issues. You just checked with it. We will be coming up with your names after few participants. Okay.
Okay, on to the next participant, Mr. Rituraj Maldeka. Are you there?
Yeah,
Am I
yes,
audible?
participant, you can present your, yeah, you can
Am I
start your
audible, sir?
presentation. Yes, you are audible. You can.
All right. Good morning, everyone. So today we are confronting a constitutional paradox regarding our generation, that in which our constitution was written for a world of printing press and radio towers. Article 19(1)(a) guaranteed freedom of speech when communication was physical, scarce, and traceable to human speakers. But we live in 2026. Today, AI systems mediate how millions of Indians access news, engage in politics, and access public services. They are no longer sectoral tools, but they are structural to the public sphere itself. So the crisis here is that the same technologies built to enable liberty, search engines, social media, recommendation systems are now weaponized for deepfakes, hyper-targeted information, and in automated manipulation. Our constitution's core guarantees must now operate in a world where expression is datafied, personalized, and amplified by algorithms we don't control. So the next is regarding Article 19(1)(a) and the current shift that is happening, and that we have already discussed currently in the real change that's going around. Now, next is regarding Article 19(1)(a) being technology neutral protection. Let's trace the evolution. In 1950, Ramesh Thopar established that free political discussion is the lifeblood of democracy. The court struck down censorship because restrictions on speech must come in exclusively from the exhaustive list in Article 19, Clause 2. Then, same in Sakal Papers case, the court recognized the regulation of communication of newspaper distribution, pricing, newsprint access. In 2015, the Shia Singhal case versus Union of India also struck down Section 66A of the IT Act. But here's the doctrinal crisis. Who is the speaker when an algorithm generates the content? Our entire framework assumes a traceable human with intentions and accountability. AI generates text at scale, amplifies outrage over merit, and buries moderate voices without any human author. This is a category error our law hasn't named. Now, lastly, the reasonable restrictions in the synthetic media era. The state has power to restrict speech under Article 19 Clause 2, but only on specific grounds. In Anuradha Bhasin versus Union of India, the court set a structural proportionality test. Any restrictions must be necessary, proportionate in duration and territorial scope, and subject to review. The burden rests on the state to prove less restrictive alternatives won't surface. So until that are finally Article 21, the right to life and personal liberty, includes information autonomy. Puttaswamy case recognizes privacy as layered, physical privacy, informational privacy, and decisional autonomy. The DPDPA 2023 tries to address this. It has consent frameworks, data reduction principles, penalty up to rupees 2000 crore, but it has certain gaps that has to be dealt upon. Now, the next will be dealt by my co-author Mridusha.
with. That world is gone. The table on the slides tells you exactly why. In the past, tech was a neutral conduit. Shreya Singhal, in the next slide, our most important free speech ruling fit that world perfectly because the speaker was always human. Today, non human large language models generate synthetic media at an untraceable scale. Tech has now become an active participant. Our doctrine was built for a human speaker. Therefore, that speaker no longer exists now. This is not a gap, it is a structural collapse of the legal imagination, and it is the problem our paper is built to solve. In the next slide, Puttaswamy gave us informational autonomy in 2017 and the right to control what is known about us. But this slide shows us the problem. Location pings, search queries, purchase history, all legally non personal. If we run them through the AI black box, and outcomes our political affiliation, our health status, our religion, our financial vulnerabilities. Our paper called this the legal void. AI inferential capacity creates privacy violations that no prior consent authorizes and no existing legal category captures. Puttaswamy must reach this, but right now it does not. Next, in the DPDPA Act, India's first data protection law acknowledges the problem and then writes the government a blank check to ignore it. Section 7, in the next slide, exemptions leave state AI surveillance unchecked. There is no right to question an automated decision, none, whether it denies a loan, a job, or a welfare entitlement. The Data Protection Board is executive appointed. A regulator answerable to the state cannot regulate the state itself. The deep fake crisis. In the 2024 elections, AI voice clones of political leaders reached 50 million voters before a single fact checker could respond. Our paper identifies the real harm as epistemic, what we call the liar's dividend. When everything could be fake, authentic evidence loses its force. Democracy cannot function without a shared common epistemological commons. AI is destroying that commons, and our article 19 clause 2 doctrine built for human speech at human speed has no answer yet. We've studied 4 models. In the next slide, the EU AI Act is architecturally brilliant but so complex that it took a decade to pass. The US model changes with every election. The UK produces inconsistent standards across sectors. China is technically precise but built for a surveillance state, not a constitutional democracy. Therefore, the lesson from this matrix is simple. India cannot import any of these wholesale. We need something to be built on our own constitutional commitments. Article 19 and 21 as the organizing principle, but not the rhetorical background. Therefore, what our paper proposes is what we call principal constitutionalism, a 5-pillar architecture that treats rights as a design principle, not an afterthought. Pillar 1 talks about the openness. Every piece of AI generated content must carry a C2PA provenance watermark. Pillar 2 talks about the progressive accountability, the scale the obligation to the risk. Pillar 3 talks about tiered liability. Shreya Singhal protects passive hosting. It should not protect a platform that deploys AI to generate the harmful content itself. Pillar 4 talks about the institutional independence. The Bombay High Court state the government's own fact-checking unit because a state actor cannot be judge of its own speech. Pillar 5 talks about contestation, a digital harm board empowered to order takedowns within hours, not years. Next, I want to leave you all with one question. 50 million. That is how many Indian voters received the AI voice cloned calls before a single election phase had even begun in 2024. This system is not coming, but it is here. India has the tools. Puttaswamy's informational autonomy, Shreya Singhal's speech protections. What we are missing is the architecture that connects them into a coherent, enforceable, and a constitutional whole. The digital public sphere will not wait for the law to catch up. It requires intentional constitutional design, and it requires it now. Thank you.
Thank you, participants, for your presentation. I don't have any questions for you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Towards the next presenter, Ms. Isha Nath, are you there? Ms. Isha Nath?
Am I visible, sir, and audible?
Yes.
Good afternoon, everyone. My present topic is Beyond the Anthropocentric Lens, Deconstructing Authorship and the Originality Dilemma in AI-Mediated Digital Landscape. Talking about it, my prime area or concern is that AI, the way AI is actually developing and it is capturing each field at the present world. So it needs to be discussed. So I have here focused on the literary aspect of AI because with the emergence of AI is actually challenging the concept of authorship and it is actually shifting from human to machine.
Now, I'd like to differentiate between AI generated content and AI assisted content. Talking about AI generated content, it merely means that we are putting a simple prompt and AI is generating a simple content out of it. But when I talk about AI assisted content, it is actually a person is supervising the content generated by AI. There is active supervision by a person. So here comes the question whether the person who is putting the active supervision, whether he can have any legal protection out of it. Now, I have done some thematic literature review, and this is the literature review. Due to the paucity of time, I'm just going through it. And the gap that I found out that presently that I have focused on the Indian jurisdiction, and India does not provide copyright protection to AI generated content because AI is a machine. So there comes the question is that AI indeed true because AI is a machine and AI cannot enforce its right, but the person can who is actually navigating the AI and generating a creative content out of it. And there also exists a empirical gap that I have tried to fill out. The gap that I have found out that nobody has done an empirical research on it, and I have done along with my co-authors. I have done an empirical research. I have reached out to several people. There are 56 individuals that I have reached out. They include AI developers, legal professionals, students who have read about AI, student who uses AI, research academicians, and other persons. So what I found out is that it's very evident that people will be using AI, but without proper guidance, proper law, it will actually bring a lot of chaos. And they almost tell the same thing that the person who is actually supervising the AI and creating a content out of it by putting intellectual hard labor out of it, the person needs to be getting needs to get copyright protection out of it. So here I have put some of the case studies. If I talk about Japan, there is a very interesting case that happened. Is that a person got the highest literary award on based on his novel. Then, after getting the award, he disclosed in an open platform that he actually used AI. So, and the judges did not withdraw the award, stating that the content was actually creative in nature. And there are other instances from China, US as well, where we could see the court actually is acknowledging that yes, AI is able to create creative content, but the human supervision needs to be there for creating an original work. So my recommendation would be that in India we do not have such provisions stating that AI generated content or AI assisted content could be protected. My suggestion would be that it needs to be added because if I talk about photograph, so photographs are taken by a machine only, a camera. But when we are clicking a photo through a photograph, we are getting the copyright protection. Then why not when we are using AI tools and generating a content out of it, and we are just reviewing it, editing it, and putting hard intellectual labor? Why it cannot be protected under the copyright law? So a clause needs to be added into it, and a balanced approach is needed. Innovation is also needed, and also misuse of it also needs to be regulated. So I'd like to conclude by stating that the legal ambiguity that persists in India, it needs to be waived off, and the human labor, the human creativity, it needs to be acknowledged, and a balanced approach India should adopt. Only then we could have a innovation led and led world, we could say. So this is my presentation, and I'd like to conclude with that. And I'm open to questions, if any.
Okay, participant, since you mentioned specifically the copyright is not allowing for getting the content protected which is being generated by the artificial intelligence. For your information, in India, we don't have any such law which is rejecting an application of any content generated by AI. If you are, for example, you are writing a novel, and you apply for, like, you are writing a novel, and that novel has been written in a number of chapters, has been written by the AI, let's say any of the LLMs. So after writing that novel, when you apply for the copyright board, the copyright registry, you apply for a copyright application. they will never say you that the application is not like appropriate for getting a copyright. They will definitely grant you a copyright. The reason behind here, excuse me, here, the grant of copyright depends on the applicant's nature. Means applicants, whether the applicant is a natural person or an artificial person. Here, the subject matter of allowing a copyright or any intellectual property or not allowing a copyright or any intellectual property is the personality rights associated with the applicant. Here, if you are the applicant, you are a human being, you are a natural person, you will definitely get a copyright, irrespective whether that copyright material has been generated by the AI or how you are generated. You are the owner of that material, you will have it. So this is a clear distinction. So in your paper, what major thing like you were trying to portray? Like I'm just a bit confused regarding this.
Yes, sir. Sure, sir. I'd like to clarify the answer. So, I recently came across the case of Raghav AI, where a person named Ankit, he made an image through using an AI tool. Then when he reached before the copyright registration office, they actually denied giving the registration, stating that no, AI cannot be held as a co-author. So, initially they were given copyright
Okay,
registration, but
okay, I got it now. Specifically, co-authorship. See,
yes, sir.
as
So
I
not
already
only
mentioned,
co-authorship.
this
Yes, sir.
authorship. If you read the definition under Section 2, like authorship definition in the Copyright Act, you will see authorship always requires a person. In definition, you will see a word person. Here, the person implies a natural living person with a blood and flesh. So, like that's the simple thing to understand. So, any person means any human being, any not artificial living person. It's a human being. So here the co-authorship is not possible. Here the single authorship is possible. So that demarcation you have to make in your paper. Like that's only the point I see that it is not demarcated. That you are looking for a co-authorship. So you
Uh,
have to demarcate this into your paper.
yes, sir. Thank you so much for your feedback, sir. Sir, actually talking about the Raghav case, I mentioned that there the person named Ankit actually called for a co-authorship. But sir, through my paper, I'm trying to say that if even if a person is generating a content through using AI, but he is putting his hard labor in it, so he should be allowed to enjoy copyright by openly disclosing that yes, he took active help of AI. Because sir, in the present time, if anybody discloses it that I took the assistance of AI, in many cases they are prone to getting rejected. So even at the present moment, there are many songs, their original songs, which are written by AI, which are being sung by AI, and it is very novel in nature. But India does not have any protection for them. So even if their right are being infringed, there is no punishment to the defendant. So sir, here my request is that my recommendation is that proper law needs to be there, and the repercussion needs to be there, so that the defendant do not violate the law. So this is my
All right,
suggestion.
all right, participant. Thank you for your presentation.
Thank you so much, sir.
All right. So Hashim Mohammed, you weren't there before. Are you able to present now?
Is my voice is audible?
Yes, yeah.
My presentation is visible?
Yes, it is.
Okay. The topic in my presentation is AI for Disaster Management India, an emerging pattern landscape. I am a PhD scholar at National Institute of Advanced Studies, Indian Institute of Science, Bangalore. So the main problem, India is one of the most disaster-prone countries in the world. Like floods, earthquake, landslides, cyclone. They are not the rare events. They are regular realities. The way we manage the disaster is changing. We are moving from reactive system where we respond after something happens to more predictive systems that use data and AI to capture, anticipate, and prepare. AI is central to this shift, but the key question is who in India is actually building these tools, and are they protecting this innovation through patterns, and what study set out to find. The research question is the core question is that how AI for disaster management is translated into patented innovations in India. To answer this, I analyzed 30 patent applications filed in India at Indian Patent Office between 2022 to 25. The data retrieved from Indian Advanced Patent Advancer System, the India, and examined the corpus with the 6 dimensions, including filing patterns, who is filing, which functions they cover, what AI techniques they use, which disaster phases they address, and what are the gaps existing. The methodology used is called a pattern landscape analysis. I combined AI-related words like deep learning, machine learning, and including disaster terms like disaster management, early warning system, etc., and manually screened for title, subtract, and claims, and total 30 patents retained after removing the duplicates. And the second coder also rated this, and the intercoder reliability was strong, indicates a strong reliability. Looking at the filing patterns, activity was quite limited during 2022 to 23, but in 2025 there was a very sharp and clear jump. This tells that interest in a disaster innovation is growing in India and is not yet a mature field, but momentum is building. The total corpus is only for 4 years, but enough map to structure the emerging landscape. And in terms of filing, the picture is very clear that academic institutions are dominating. Universities, engineering colleges, research institute account for the majority of the filings, and individual inventors comes next. Industry companies, startups, commercial entities is almost absent in this space. This matters because of present patterns from industry typically signal closer proximity to real-world deployment. The absence of industry here suggests that a disaster innovation in India is still primarily as a research activity and not yet a commercial one. And next is about what they are patenting. In terms of what actually they are being patented, 2 functional clusters stand out. The first is predictive analytics and decision support, and IoT enabled and real-time monitoring. These two account together for the bulk of the findings, and smaller clusters like NLP, social media analytics, and satellite image analysis, autonomous system, and flood risk management. This picture that emerges is one of the concentration of few dominant applications, with many other functional directions receiving very little inventive attention. The next is about the AI techniques they have used. At the technical level, deep learning and machine learning and its IoT integration are by far the most common approaches. Data fusion and NLP appear the moderate number of patterns, and some other techniques like drone systems, satellite remote sensing are very sparsely used techniques. And now we come to the disaster phase coverage. This is one of the important findings. When I mark the patterns against the 4 phases of disaster management cycle, including mitigation, preparedness, response, and recovery, the imbalance is striking. Together, they cover about this response and preparedness. Together, they cover about 83% of the corpus. Recovery is getting only just 11%, and mitigation only 9%. What it means that almost all the innovation is concentrated around monitoring happens and responding when it is. This phases that deal with no longer time structural reduction and post-disaster rehabilitations are being ignored. The gaps, pulling the gap. So mitigation and recovery are underserved at the primary level. Satellite analysis, robotics, and NLP are underdeveloped at the functional level. Generative AI, edge AI, and blockchain are marginally at the technical level. Overall, the pattern is that landscape is concentrated in a specific band of activity, like a prediction, real-time sensing, and event-time decision support. Everything beyond the band is comparatively thin. So the key takeaway is that India's disaster pattern space is growing, but it is small. 2 academic institutions are driving it, and the industry is not. And the technical focus is narrow. Deep learning and IoT is dominating. And 4, the disaster cycle coverage is uneven. Response and preparedness are well represented. Mitigation and recovery are not. And newer AI approaches are barely present, and there is a clear opportunity for both industry and policymakers to step in and fill these gaps. And to conclude, uh, based on the findings, I wanted to propose 6 concrete policy recommendations. First, the Indian Patent Office should create a dedicated classification code for AI and disaster technologies. Right now, there is no unified category, which make this space hard to track. And the second, it should introduce a co-filing incentives to bring industry to this space alongside academic institution. Third, a national patent challenge fund should target mitigation and recovery specifically. These two are the most neglected phases. And fourth, the patent landscape intelligence like this study should be formally integrated into National Disaster Management Authority technology planning process. And right now, disaster policy and innovation idea are not talk to each other. Fifth, a public observatory tracking a disaster patterns research and startup in one place would reduce the duplication and help funders policymakers identify white spaces. And since the disaster like floods and cyclones across South Asian borders, and a SARC level IP cooperation framework could enable shared patent filing and joint deployment of AI tools for regional resilience. So the bottom line is that India has a visible but narrow innovation base in AI disaster technology. Closing the gap requires a targeted policy action and not just more research. Thank you. If any questions, it's.
Thank you, participant, for your presentation. I don't have any questions for you.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. Could we have our next presenter, Dr. Preeti Saxena? You could present now.
Yeah, good afternoon. Am I visible?
Dr. Preeti, you are not visible.
Uh, yeah.
Okay.
So
Yeah, you
am
can
I
start.
audible?
Yes, you are audible. Your presentation is visible. You can start.
Okay, fine. So I am Dr. Preeti Saxena, Assistant Professor at Maharaja Sayaji Rao University of Baroda in Gujarat. So I am now focusing on the topic which is generative AI in teacher education. I am from that field and aligning the digital competence, which is very much required with the global policies for inclusive pedagogy in the global south. And this is not only a conceptual but the practice oriented framework which I suggest in my proposal to prepare teachers for a rapidly evolving AI landscape. So for this, I'll say that the generative AI tools, whether it is ChatGPT, Relay, these are entering our system of teacher education, different programs, B.Ed, M.Ed, and we have certain policies and teacher standards to keep up. So global bodies are warning us without ethical and human-centered guidance, AI can deepen inequities rather than reducing them. So this is a question that what kind of related AI related competences do teacher educators need, especially in the global south, to use generative AI responsibly and inclusively. So internationally, there is a strong policy momentum. UNESCO has already given the framework for AI competency framework for teachers, and which defines the key areas such as the ethics, the AI foundations, and AI pedagogy. So, and also at institutional level, we see the surveys that show a majority of universities are already drafting AI policies, yet many of these do not translate into clear expectation of the teacher educators. So, my work builds a bridge between the high level policies and day to day teacher education practice that we are facing every day in our classroom, and that needs to be addressed properly and appropriately. So teachers use generative AI and they have different purposes for it. They are making it for certain, crafting the materials and giving the feedback, preparing for the lesson plans. And many of us are now used to it, and some of them are very much with the beginners. But there is no regulations. There is now we can see that there is a clear gap between how much AI is used and how well it is governed and understood. So this is the basic thing that we face here. And the global south real life incidences, if we see, we can already see the impacts of in the global south. In one African context, if you see, people centered AI tutoring initiatives combined with teacher guidance led to learning gains also. And in Latin America, teachers co-design AI training and reshape tools around their classroom realities, not around corporate assumptions. So, when teachers are positioned as leaders and co-designers, AI can help and leapfrog towards from more equitable education. And if we talk about the NEP policy, which is particularly in the Indian context, then it strongly emphasizes the digital learning, inclusion, and continuous professional development. And we also see that NCTE, a National Council for Teacher Education, proposes in the draft form only right now for the National Professional Standard for Teachers, which requires educators to integrate technology, act ethically, and address equity in digital learning environments. And these documents really spell out what AI specific competence actually looks like for a teacher educator in B.Ed or M.Ed. So, my work responds to this policy gap here. And for this, I propose the triadic competence framework here, which says about the blending learning with Gen AI, using ChatGPT to diversify lesson plans, feedback tools, and to create the multimodal, culturally relevant visuals so that the learners are more comfortable towards this kind of visuals and learning that they get. And there should also be some kind of ethical AI literacy, how generic AI works, recognizing bias and hallucinations, protecting student data, and maintaining academic integrity. And also, there should be inclusive and human-centered pedagogy, and it should also have a which will enhance the equity and the multilingual content accessibility for diverse learner. And there should be a continuous human insight oversight. And this is the framework which has been designed by me, so that there should be a collaborative role of each and every dimension, so that this is grounded. Particularly, I have seen the policies, the NEP and NPST and UNESCO, what it has guided. So this is the practical expectation for the teacher education particularly.
A participant kindly
So
conclude.
there are concrete classroom examples also. In a methods course, a teacher educator asks AI to generate 3 versions of a lesson on climate change for advanced, average, struggling student teachers, and then critically edits them with the class. This develops both pedagogical design as well as the critical AI critical thinking. For visual learning, generative image tools are being developed. And finally, students engage in AI ethics lab, comparing AI output with textbook, identifying bias, inaccuracies, or stereotyping, and discussing how to uphold human dignity and inclusion. These are low cost and high impact practices that any teacher education institute in the global south can adopt. So there are policy and governance contributions, and this is beyond classroom practice. This paper makes a governance contribution. I argue for aligning national teacher standards where NPST with UNESCO AI competency framework, so that AI expectations are embedded into accreditation, professional development, and quality assurance. So I also propose a risk-based AI governance approach, regulating high-risk uses, protecting minors' data, demanding local piloting of tools, and formally recognizing teacher educators as key stakeholders in AI policy. It is a policy instrument. In short, I'll say this is not only the pedagogical. So with this, I end my presentation here. Thank you so much.
Okay, participant, what are the country models you have taken into considerations? Participant, am I audible? Host, am I audible?
Yes, sir, you're audible. Yes, sir, you're
Okay.
audible.
Yes. Yes, sir.
Yes, Dr. Preeti, what are the country models you have taken into consideration for your recommendations and proposals?
Yeah, sir, actually, basically, I am focusing, I am a teacher educator here in India, and I am taking particularly the policies that are already recommended by NEP 2020 in India. As I have seen, also, there are certain cases that I have mentioned in my presentation, that there are certain people, those who have already applied and seen the result of AI into the classrooms and its effects and the learning gains that they have received from this application. So I recommend that it should be used with very much caution. There should be some kind of regulations.
All right.
Policies
Dr.
definitely
Preeti,
suggest us.
yes, I have one suggestion for you. In the Ireland, also in Germany, there are these, and also Estonia. If you looked into very recently, just like I had a conversation in the India AI Impact Summit with all their ambassadors and like and their delegates. So, what are the major concerns? Because this country are those country among those countries who had implemented AI in education for about 5 to 6 years now, like very long. So what are the concerns these people are having from these countries? I looked into is that according to them, using artificial intelligence in one way, coming up with a very good responsive model where the students can come up with their queries and can get their queries resolved in just few minutes, but in other way where the students are getting so easy access of the knowledge that they are not coming up with the efforts, so that's their concern, that it will indirectly impact their mental growth and also their intelligence, the level of intelligence they are holding. So this is the concern shared by one of the Germans delegate, like they are coming up with the impact report in coming years. So I will suggest you to also take into these considerations, like even if India come up with the artificial intelligence model into the education system and also implementing it in the education system, what are its negative impacts and how to come up with those negative impacts and how we can get those informations by looking into the countries which has already in practice for this type of models, like for 5 years, 6 years or 10 years now. So those countries reports or the executive summary notes would be beneficial for this. So I will ask you to look into this and also see what are their feedbacks and inputs into it.
Yeah, thank you so much, sir, for your suggestion. I'll definitely look into this. Here, my presentation was only focused for the global south, but what you are telling it is Germany is a company which we normally say as a global north, and definitely if they are far beyond us, and they have, as you have mentioned, that they have done this for last 5 years. So their implications and their after effects they are able to see. So definitely we can in our further studies we can make a model and take the feedback from their researchers into the account, and then we can help our learners so that they should not feel like they are misusing the AI, if I rightly say.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, ma'am. Anushka, you can start with your presentation.
Yeah, I hope I'm both audible, visible.
Yes.
Yeah, thank you. Good afternoon, everybody, respected panelists, distinguished guests, and everybody else joining us. My name is Anushka Kalluri, and today I'll be presenting on my paper titled AI Optimacy in Hybrid Warfare. I will be especially focusing upon accountability, the IPR constraints, and the legal resilience. Firstly, I would like to begin by saying that currently we face an accountability crisis in the very usage of AI, which, to begin with, the integration of AI into autonomous weapons and any type of cyber operations has created such crisis. Now, this can be attributed to any of the sectors that it has been inculcated into. Right, so non-deterministic material machine learning systems which generate unpredictable outputs are making it difficult for a person to understand how these targeted decisions are actually being made. Now, at the same time, various legal frameworks that we have currently are struggling to adapt, especially when the system's logic and the capacities or the capabilities of it remain inaccessible due to proprietary restrictions. Now, this creates a gap between the decision making and also responsibility. Now, this generally and mainly comes from the usage of the black box paradox, which AI is a part of. Nextly, we are in the current age of quote unquote the first AI war. Now, this can be corroborated through the operation quote unquote Epic Fury. Now, this problem becomes even more clearer in real world, especially in these emerging conflict scenarios. Now, AI-enabled systems have dramatically reduced decision-making time, like the one which we see right now on the screen are the statistics which have been used in the Operation Epic Fury. Now, this speed also comes at a cost. Now, when civilian harms occur, such as in the case of large-scale casualties that we have just seen in Iran, the opacity with which AI systems work, it makes it extremely difficult to assess any proportionality that rises out of it and also assign responsibility. Now, this marks a shift wherein efficiency is increased, but accountability also becomes blurred. Now, nextly, what we see is that there is a lot of technicality and a lot of technical foundation of said non-transparency, which is to understand this, we need to briefly look into what's the technology behind this, right? So it generally is based upon deep neural networks, which operate through complex multi-layered systems, which are architectures that even the designers themselves cannot fully begin to comprehend or even interpret completely. Now, I say this because, as an assertion, these systems are also vulnerable to adversarial attacks. Now, when these small changes are made in the inputs that are given to these AIs, it can lead to dangerous misclassifications which have real life consequences. Now, additionally, trade secret protections like that we see under international law and especially pertaining to IPR restrict the access to how these systems are built and especially how they are trained. Now, together, these factors create what we, and me especially, call as AI opacity. Now, nextly, what we see is that there is command responsibility that is under constant strain. Now, in a real life war, which is not a hybrid war, which is the traditional sense of war, the command lies with the human who commands other humans. And this way, it gets easier to assign responsibility or blame. Now, this directly also impacts any legal accountability, which we see under Article 26 of the Rome Statute, which governs said wars. Traditionally, commanders are responsible for it, but they also have effective control and knowledge of potential violations. But with AI systems, what happens is that control also becomes indirect. Now, a commander's influence, the outcome which comes through is through various design choices, through various training data, and through deployment conditions, which are not real-time decisions that AI can take for itself. Now, I argue that the command responsibility still applies herein, but it must be reinterpreted in such a way where you taken into account that this shift from direct to systemic control is something that is very prevalent as of now. Nextly, IPR is a evidentiary firewall in this present scenario. Now, I say this because even if we adopt legal doctrines and a major barrier is removed, intellectual property law still applies. Under the TRIPS Article 39, critical components like source code and training data are protected as trade secrets. Now, this creates an evidentiary firewall. Now, it limits reviews, weapon reviews especially, independent audits, and any post-incident investigations which are necessary, because key technical information is simply not accessible and also is legally protected. Without access, accountability mechanisms cannot function effectively. Now, nextly, what I talk about is a legal resilience framework. Now, to address these challenges, I propose the following legal resilience frameworks based on four key elements. Firstly, we need an enhanced pre deployment review, including an adversarial testing of how the usage works. Secondly, structured auditability through secure decisions, especially decision logging systems. Now, the same way we have attendance logging, I think a simplified version of it is attendance logging. The same will need to apply to decision loggings. Thirdly, a calibrated disclosure that balances transparency also with security, because obviously we cannot ask nations to reveal their war secrets, which is something none of them would be ready for. And fourthly, stronger due diligence standards before deployment. Now, together, these measures aim to restore accountability without hindering any technological advancement. Because again, we do also not only agree and also stand with the nation's right to defend themselves and to also go ahead and have the best technological
Can we come to the conclusion?
indeed. So my last point would be India's vanguard role, which is I highlight that the role of India and Global South is very imperative in said circumstances. It's because India occupies a unique position between major powers and can act as a bridge in shaping global AI governance. Through coalition building and through advocacy, it can promote transparency standards and ensure that accountability is not limited to only technologically advanced states. It is also especially important in multilateral forums addressing autonomous weapons. Now, the key takeaways herein is that the four essential elements which I have highlighted, and any emerging power will need to have a critical role in the shaping of the future global norms. To conclude, I would like to say that AI is not just a technical issue, it is a legal and ethical challenge as of now. This also is now applying directly to human lives affected. Now, if left unaddressed, it risks creating systems where decisions are made but responsibility is unclear. Human oversight must remain central and supported by robust legal frameworks and principled governance. Thank you.
Okay,
I'll be ready to take any.
Yeah, participant, I don't have any question for you. Thank you for your presentation.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Anushka. Can we have Karthi here next?
Am I audible?
Yes, you can start your
Am I audible,
presentation.
sir? Okay, sir. I myself Karthiran. I'm from Central University of Tamil Nadu with the co-author of Ashika, and we are presenting a topic related to the legal dilemma of the illusion of free AI ecosystems. Moving on to the introductory part, AI is something that has become a part of our lives. Still, we can use it entirely. Nowadays, their feet are almost everywhere. This AI has become such a friendly tool to use, but there are some hidden backend processing that the artificial intelligence can done, which can create some problems. What are the problems which can be discussed in the upcoming slides? And my research problem is how the implication of such AI usage can create legal consequences that may undermine established privacy protection laws. In India, we are having some privacy protection laws. How these AIs can demarcate these privacy protection laws. And by focusing into the methodology topic, we are focusing on the doctrinal legal research, which include the analysis of some primary and secondary sources. There are some limitations in this research. I'm focusing only on the part of certain periods only. For example, there are some many issues are there by arising of AI. I'm focusing only on the profiling, manipulation, and surveillance concerns by comparing the perspectives with the foreign nations. And this is a boon and a ban sector. Here we can go into say see that AI can be used in the so many fields: medical, legal, engineering, and daily life. Their routine tasks from basics to the complex decision making. And there is a one survey conducted by the Microsoft in the 2025, which says that 65% of more than people were consuming AI still now. And this This is the bone technology, and when going into the bank side, even though the technology synthesis, there are some privacy risks. What are the privacy risks? Continuous behavior tracking, infraction patterns, and the algorithmic targeting. They can push, they can analyze what the user is using, and they can push ads, ideas, or influence. They can influence the consumer ideas also, which can also be some of the issues. And then moving into this attraction by relaxation, as we have know, some recently they have announced their free AI algorithms by giving free relaxation, but they are making telecom companies partnerships, and they are offering a free AI subscription for just 1 year, certain years. How they are giving means by using this AI continuously, the people they can able to know that people ideas, what are their users input, how they are using this, what are they want to learn. Likewise, they will continuously keep on monitoring them, and they can use it for some other purposes also. As I have did mentioned in this slide also, backend processing of vast data can be done for every prompt given by the user, which can raise concerns on the data privacy, control, and user safety. The data privacy concerns, which I have already mentioned in the limitation, is I'm preferring algorithmic profiling. What this algorithm profiling can do means they can analyze the statistical analysis and the pattern recognition, how the users will be interacted, what are the chat prompts that we use. For example, in case if I'm a student, I am a school student means if I am putting searching anything related to school studies, colleges, they can easily manipulate the thing and they can show only that content related to my school studies only. But what the backend is, we can't know. Likewise, it is happening. And here I mentioned an example for e-commerce platforms. In the e-commerce platforms, we have using the chat boxes and receive the inputs from the user and may analyze the user's purchases and browsing habits to predict what products the user is likely to buy. As such, algorithmic manipulation, it's a form of psychological influence that shapes individuals' behavior, decisions, perceptions, and throughout the personalized content and target accommodation that appeal to social conscious. It is somewhat extended from the algorithmic profiling to the algorithmic manipulation. It often directs individuals to act unconsciously, creating a subtle socio-psychological
Okay,
control
participant,
mechanism.
you can come up to the solutions and then conclusion.
Okay. I make a constantly comparison also from this European. We are having some laws, some articles for this data profiling, manipulation, and the surveillance concerns. And I have mentioned some of the articles here. And for this China also, we are having some articles. In both countries, developed countries have enacted their separate law for this type of impact, but still India doesn't have any law for that. That was mentioned under the conclusion suggestion part. Still now we are having only the data protection at 2023 and there is no precision authority to control over it, likewise algorithmic profiling, manipulation, surveillance controls. Still now we are in that the growing stage. We need some more awareness, some more strong mechanism to enforce these types in order to avoid these types of offenses, privacy issues in the future. If you thank you for this opportunity. If you have any other questions, you can ask.
Okay, participant, have you referred the recent Niti Aayog's report into your research?
No, sir, I didn't refer that, and I made only before 1 year, 1.5 years research only.
Okay, so Niti Aayog has also released a report in like September or October 2025. You have to
Okay,
like
okay.
refer those reports well. Your topic is really connected with those outputs.
Thank you, sir. I will just go and refer it.
All right, all right. We can move ahead with the
Okay.
next participant.
Okay, thank you.
Yes,
So since Giriraj is not present, we would move to Fanipriya Kondala. Are you there?
Yes, participant, you can start your presentation.
Yes, sir. Good afternoon. This is Fanipriya. Uh, I was presenting on the paper Influencer Driven Full Funnel Marketing in 2026 AI Commerce Era. So, have you ever bought something because an influencer recommended it, most of us have. But today, influencers are not just promoting products, they're actually helping companies to generate great revenue. So, this study is using a mixed method approach with 320 respondents and focuses on the role of AI in influencer marketing. The main problem identified in this research, the next slide, please. Oh, yeah. The main problem identified in this research is that influencer marketing and AI have been studying separately, but there is no unified framework showing that how they work together across the entire marketing funnel. So this study focuses on three key areas. First one is how influencers function at all the stages of funnel, and second the impact of AI on the marketing activities, and third the consumer trust and authenticity in AI driven content. So traditionally, uh, marketing followed in market I mean influencer marketing followed the AIDA model, which is awareness, interest, desire, and action. So this is a linear process, but in today's AI commerce era the system has changed. Now we have a full funnel model, which consists of macro, micro, nano influences, where micro influences create awareness, micro influences build trust and consideration, and nano influences drive conversion. So after the purchase, brand communities build loyalty. Also, this process is circular and customers come back as advocates. In fact, 82% of marketers now use influencers at the multiple stage of the funnel. The artificial intelligence is playing a major role in this system. So it works in three stages. First one is planning. So AI helps find the right influencers, checks audience authenticity, and ensures the brand safety. The second one is execution, where AI helps in creating content, testing different versions, and optimizing performance in real time. So the third one is measurement, where AI tracks customers' behavior, measures return of investment, and analyzes the sentiments across the platforms. So overall, AI makes an influencer marketing more efficient and data driven. The influencer styles where I have mentioned the criteria. So mega influencers have a follower of 1 million followers and provide mass reach, whereas the micro influencers help in creating awareness, which has around 100K followers, and micro influencers have higher engagement and provide the best return of investment, which has 10K followers, and nano influencers are the highest authenticity and are most effective in driving conversions, where they have below 10K followers. And in fact, 68% of the brand managers say micro influencers deliver the highest return of investment. And the key findings where my research has revealed some of the key insights where first 84% of consumers brought a product after seeing the influencer's content, and second 61% of consumers are becoming more skeptical due to lack of transparency in AI use. And however, 77% of consumers said they would trust influencers more if they disclose their use of AI, and this leads to a most important concept called AI transparency paradox. When AI is hidden, trust decreases, but when AI is disclosed, trust actually increases. So 71% of creators feel excessive AI makes content look artificial. One of the major challenge in influencer marketing is attribution. 63% of marketers say it is the biggest problem. This is because consumers interact with multiple influencers across the participant platforms. Their journey is non-linear. So data is fragmented across the different platforms. Even AI struggles to fully track this complexity. So companies need better AI based on attribution systems. So to solve these challenges, this research proposes four-part framework. First one is create a mixed strategy using the right influencer at right stage, and second AI targeting and content using AI for best segmentation and optimization. Third, multi-touch attribution where tracking performance across all touch points. Fourth is governance and ethics, ensuring transparency and compliance. Together, this create a complete market strategy. And based on the findings, I suggest that adopting a full funnel influencer strategy would be very recommendable, and investing in AI attributions and protecting creator authenticity and maintaining transparency in AI AI using social commerce tools and building long-term relationship with these influencers would 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 be appreciable to fulfill this gap. And I would like to conclude stating that influencer marketing has been evolved from just creating awareness to becoming a full funnel revenue generating system. AI and human creativity together can create the best results. Micro and nano influencers are the key for conversion, and transparency builds through trust. However, attribution remains a major challenge. So the future of marketing lies in building and balancing technology with authenticity, because today it is not about who gets the most likes but who converts those likes into leads. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, participant. I don't have any question for you.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Vasu Sharma, you can start with your presentation.
A very good afternoon, sir. Am I visible?
Yes, you're visible and audible.
And sir, is my PPT visible too?
Yes, you can start with it.
Yes, you can start.
Sure, sir.
Right. Good afternoon, respected panel and everybody present. Today, I will be presenting our research paper titled The New Intellectual Frontier Navigating the Realm of Rights and Evolution of the AI Economy in the Age of the Generative Paradigm. We are currently witnessing a fundamental shift from traditional AI that merely analyzes data to generative AI, which can autonomously create text, images, code, and even inventions. This transformation is not just technological, it is redefining ownership, creativity, and the very foundation of the global economy, particularly in the South Asia. Now, the core problem that our paper discusses is that despite the revolution, our legal systems, especially intellectual property laws, remain rooted in the idea that only a human can be an author or an inventor. This has created what our paper identifies as a rights vacuum. The AI generated works have significant economic value but lack clear legal ownership. This leads to two major consequences: the innovation trap and the sovereignty gap. The innovation trap is where the startups cannot attract investment due to ownership uncertainty. And the sovereignty gap is where South Asian countries risk becoming dependent on foreign AI platforms and losing control over their digital resources. Now, let us look at the legal challenges. Our paper highlights three major legal challenges. Number one, the authorship paradox. There are three competing claimants: the developers, users, and the AI systems. However, none of them fit neatly into the existing legal frameworks. The second is the liability crisis. When AI causes harm, such as deep fakes or misinformation, there is an attribution problem. AI cannot be sued. Developers claim unpredictabilities. Users may lack intent. This creates a liability gap in both tort and criminal law. Third is training infringement. The AI systems often rely on copyrighted data, including works of South Asian artists, raising concerns of digital exploitation under the gaze of fair use. Next, we look into the economic impact. The legal uncertainty directly impacts the economy. First is the shift in value. Value is no longer in raw data, but in the trained AI models and fine tuned parameters. This creates a data value paradox. Second, digital dependency. South Asia increasingly relies on foreign AI models, creating a dependency cycle, a resource drain where local innovation benefits foreign platforms. Third is innovation versus monopoly. Too much protection leads to big tech monopolies, and too little protection leads to no investment. This balance is critical. Impact. The next is impact on informal sector. While AI democratizes creativity, small creators cannot legally own their AI assisted work and remain excluded from formal economic benefits. Now, the solutions that we pose is to address these challenges. Our paper proposes a forward looking regulatory framework. The first is collaborative intelligence model. We move beyond the human and the machine debate and recognize AI creation as a collaborative process combining human intent and the machine execution. The second is sui generis legal framework. We propose a new specialized AI specific law with key features that demand that with deemed authorship, the user or entity controlling the AI become the legal owner, tiered protection, shorter protection period of 10 to 15 years, and the registration system, which mandates disclosure of data sets to, and models for transparency. Along with that, by safety by design approach, we suggest mandatory AI watermarking and, and provenance tracking.
Participant come to the conclusion.
Right, sir. So, to conclude, we are standing at a new intellectual frontier where law, technology, and economics intersect. If left unregulated, this transformation risks deepening inequalities, and along with that, strengthening digital monopolies, undermining sovereignty in the global south. However, with the right approach, through collaborative intelligence and a sui generis legal framework, we can transform this challenge into an opportunity. The goal is clear to build an AI economy that is innovative, inclusive, and sovereign. Thank you.
Okay, there are one suggestion specifically to your topic. Kindly refer to the Niti Aayog's recent report. Also, take into consideration the report of OECD regarding the artificial intelligence and the uses of AI.
Right, sir. We will surely look into that.
All right, that's only my point. Thank you for your presentation.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you.
Okay, Miss Aisha Nath, you can go after this. Start your presentation.
All right, sir. Good afternoon, everyone present over here. I'll be presenting on the topic of global AI policies and their impact on legal education and research a way forward. So, talking about that, my prime area or concern is that how AI is revolving in the present world and in the legal education as well, in the legal field as well, how AI is getting integrated into it. But there is a lack of legal policy and act as compared to other jurisdiction I'll be highlighting. So at the present moment, we could find out some gaps, reveals that gap that a need of institutional training is there for the person who is using the AI, navigating the AI, and actually generating content out of it. Because in many cases, we could see that lawyers they are found to be using cases which actually do not exist, but there are no repercussions at the present moment. It needs to be there. So my research objective is that there needs to be a global policy that regulates AI. A consensus needs to be there among the different jurisdictions, and they should come with the treaty. So I have examined different global policies, and also I have analyzed the challenges and what could be the possible opportunities that we could actually find out. And also I have evaluated the ethical issues that are revolving around the usage of AI and proposed some strategies that we could actually inculcate. And talking about that, European Union has become the first jurisdiction which has actually adopted the AI Act, and it's very necessary at the present moment for us, like India, to also adopt such policies. And here, US has adopted a decentralized approach, and also China is mostly focusing on the development focus, like they are setting some goals that they are wishing to achieve. And UK, on the other hand, they are focusing on the innovation oriented approach. Talking about that, if we talk about the international efforts, yes, it is indeed true that the OECD they have taken some role and they have made some guidelines on the AI how it should be regulated. Also, the UNESCO's AI ethics they are also like they have also revealed the valuable guidance, especially for educational settings with respect to AI. And also there is another that is G7's Hiroshima AI process. It also aims to align strategies among leading economies and how the AI needs to be governed.
And talking about the legal education, as I already mentioned, that how AI is getting intertwined into the legal education. So proper training needs to be there for the person who are actually navigating it. And the algorithmic bias, the data privacy, the most common challenges that are actually arising. And also in many cases, what happens in case of academic legal education, in case of doing legal research and all, many unethical way the lawyers actually use AI, and it is very unethical to the profession as well. But there is no repercussion as of now. And also AI after all is a tool, so it if proper guidelines are not met, so fully relying on AI will not help, because AI lacks emotion and AI lacks empathy. So in many cases what happens, I have mentioned few of the cases where the lawyer actually cited some judgment or cited some arguments and case laws which are totally made by AI, and they are actually severely punished by the Supreme Court. But the thing is, proper the recommendation through this research paper, I'd be saying that the international bodies should come forward and make a global treaty among them that will be that will have a that will have a binding effect on each country.
Participant come to the conclusion.
Yes, sir. And a robust legislation should be there, and also each jurisdiction should inculcate this method into their domestic legislation. Only then we can have a balanced approach and for regulating AI. That's it. So I would like to conclude by saying that please, I'm open to questions.
Okay, participant, I don't have any question for you. Thank you for your presentation.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Next, could we have S. Adistha with the presentation?
Good afternoon, sir. Am I
Yes,
audible
you
and
can,
visible, sir?
yes, you can start with your presentation.
Yes, sir. A very good afternoon to all the dignitaries present here. This is S. Adishta, and I'm a third year student at National University of Advanced Legal Studies. Today, I'm here to discuss on one of the crucial aspects, how AI has not only penetrated in terms of healthcare, employment, science in various sectors, but also how its effects are seen in traditional cultures and in rural traditional practices, especially in a diverse cultural country like India. So today, I have narrowed down my topic to one of the traditional cultures followed by the South Indian community that I come in, which is called a kolam, which is a cultural traditional practice by the community of the Tamils, and how AI and its effects are seen, and how we can find a middle ground for both cultural preservation and the development of AI can coexist. First off, could to give a small gist on what is kolam and what is the traditional practice, it is essentially an art form that is often drawn on the floors by women of India and women of Tamil Nadu, especially during festival times. It is seen as a practice that has been passed down from one generation to another, where it is said to define to bring prosperity and positivity into a household. Essentially, while we talk about kolam as a traditional cultural expression, as we all know, there was a historic treaty in 2024, which is the Treaty on Genetic Resources Associated Traditional Knowledge, which was given forth by the World Intellectual Property Organization. And they had defined what a TCE is. And essentially, it is any traditional cultural practice that has been passed from one generation to another, which essentially forms part of the particular community's identity. And by virtue of this, kolam can be brought under this ambit. So, what is the culture and the AI paradox that we are facing when we talk about TCEs? Like, for example, this is a picture that I've taken from Pinterest, which is AI generated, essentially a column, the level of accuracy, the level of intricacy that it provides. But however, the the loss of authenticity of the entire culture that was practiced by the community, which is essentially drawn through hands, and the beliefs behind it, and the essential traditional uh, traditional aspects the particular community considers while this particular art is drawn is now being converted as is being brought as AI generated aspects, which is essentially diluting how the culture is actually expressed. So there are a lot of ethical concerns in how this particular digital figures, which is essentially this particular column, a traditional practice, is being even sold in certain digital platforms. Now, while we look into the Indian IP laws, do we have enough laws in order to safeguard, first of all, a TCE, and when a TCE gets diluted through AI? So while analyzing all the IP laws that has been present in place in India, copyright found to be the most feasible one while talking about a TCE, and we could bring column as a traditional cultural expression under 2C, which essentially defines artistic work. As we can see, any drawing could be considered as an artistic work. And second of all, under copyrights, we have this concept of moral rights under Section 57, which essentially allows the author to prevent their particular creation from any distortion, mutilation, or modification. This is clearly the case we see in this particular culture expression, where there is a serious distortion, modification, how it's being expressed while it is being AI generated. But however, there are very, very crucial gaps that need to be closed in terms of addressing this particular issue, because it causes serious threat to these particular cultural expression in the traditional practices of a community. Here, the best pathway is to not let go of AI's development, nor at the cost of culture getting deteriorated, but to find a middle ground, which forms the core of my presentation. Essentially, first, I would like to state the limitations under the Act, then go on to the proposals which I would like to propose. First off, there's this concept of originality under the copyrights law, wherein essentially it talks about whether an AI assisted work can be considered as original, and in fact, can AI be an author? So while we are finding a middle ground, even if, let's say, a column is designed by an AI, and let's say through prior authorization in an authorized way it is being commercialized, we still don't have any protection to protect this particular traditional expression, because there are certain limitations as to whether AI can be considered an author, which is not considered with regards to the present laws that are put in place. Even though we have a case law that states, which is Eastern Book Company versus DB Modoc, this case law particularly stated that even if there is minimal human intervention, a particular artistic work can in fact gain copyright protection. But however, with regards to AI, even if we give prompt through with proper cultural sensitivities, even if there's human intervention while giving prompts in order to generate AI columns, AI still cannot be considered an author, and still the copyrights cannot be extended towards it. And hence, it is yet again not considered to be original. This is one of the crucial gaps in the copyrights landscape itself. Second of all, while we're talking about the other limitations, while analyzing other acts which could be perhaps been put in place in order to protect these traditional cultural expressions, I found out Geographical Indications Act and Trademarks Act. But however, there are yet again crucial gaps that need to be filled. With GI, it only stops with agriculture products or agriculture manufacturing, even though it is concentrated to a particular place.
Participant, you had exceeded the time. You can move to the conclusions and your recommendations.
Yes, sir. So essentially, with regards to my proposal, there are certain traditional cultural expression legislations that have been put in place globally. One, Indonesia, which essentially recognizes communal intellectual property rights in order to safeguard the community rights and the traditional practices of a particular community in their country. And in Australia has implemented sui generis laws, which is special laws that focus especially on traditional cultural expression. To note, their Troyat Stalit community, which is an Aboriginal Australian community, for them, they have implemented this particular law, which essentially only talks about TCE and not any other traditional IP such as trademarks, patents, or anything. And to mention, African Pacific nations have also brought in very aboriginal and traditional cultural expression friendly legislative frameworks, though it is under certain considerations and policy developments at this stage. With regards to AI governance, this is one of the important points. European Union stands to be the first jurisprudence that has brought in the AI Act. So while we talk about this AI Act, they have implemented a risk-based AI regulation where they have categorized high risk AI and low risk AI with certain compliance mechanisms. And with regard to our particular issue, the concept of GPA, which is essentially general purpose AI compliance, could be implemented wherein there's a mandatory disclosure of how the AI is being trained. This particular mandate could be given to the developers of the artificial intelligence, wherein we can learn how in fact they're training their AI, and we could implement culture sensitive patterns for the AI to be trained to prevent the exploitation while the traditional cultural expressions like column is being generated through AI. Hence, this would be the final proposal for finding a midpoint with regards to cultural preservation plus also AI development. One, to expand the moral rights to extend to communities. At present, while Section 57 of the Copyrights Act talks only about the author, it doesn't recognize communities who can own the ownership of their art forms which they have preserved throughout the generation. Second, AI assisted works where human input exists, which was mentioned yet again, and a hybrid legislation which includes both inspirations from the AI Act of the European jurisprudence with regards to compliance and disclosure mechanisms with regards to general purpose AI data training, and also TCE protection mechanisms that have been implemented by Indonesia and Australia. Yes, sir. Also, introduction of community data rights and also prior consent for communities, along with an inspiration from Nagoya Protocol for a benefit sharing mechanism whenever the culture expression is being commercialized. This brings us to the end of my presentation. Thank you very much.
Okay, so there are few suggestions from my end. Specifically, when we look into the TCEs, like it is a community right, it is not an individual's right. Any individual cannot come and claim that this is my TCE and I cannot allow any person from using it. So first at all, like you had provided examples from the Copyright Act, you had provided examples from the trademark. So first of all, these two legislations are the individual centric legislation, which is more subjective towards the positive like restriction of the positive monopoly. But here when you looked into TCEs, here the positive monopoly is not applicable. So like you had also referred GI, so geographical indication is much relevant than the Trademark Act and the Copyright Act in your paper. So try to like omit those portions. Like I felt that the copyright is not relevant enough to cite even the like you can cite the minor portions, but major like provisions are not applicable. Now coming up with the next part, that is sui generis. So when the India signed the WTO agreement and subsequently TRIPS, then we had been provided with various options, specifically like the options of opting up to, like we had been provided with two options for trade secret and this TCE thing had been provided, whether to come up with the sui generis legislation or to accommodate with the existing laws and then coming up with the sui generis when India is fit to go. So currently in the Indian context, sui generis legislation we don't have for the trade secret, and also we don't have for the TCE. Now for the trade secret, already discussions is going on. Already DPIT is coming up with the rules and regulations. Also various comments DPIT is coming up for the trade secret, and within next 1 year, that is 2027 to 28, our trade secret legislation is going to come. Now when trade secret legislation will be coming up, after that only TCE as a traditional cultural expressions can be come like in a broader sense, because it is very much interrelated, like in a notion that it's a both sided so from a single coin it's a both side. One side is trade secret and another side is TCE, because when we looked into the trade secrets aspects, there are various trade secrets and various other traditional cultural expressions which also needs to be protected but cannot be traded. So yeah, so what can be traded, that definition would be getting into the trade secret, and thus the restrictions would be imposed in the TCE legislations when it will come to the effect. Now I will suggest you to refer to some of the legislations from the Europe for specifically TCE. You can also refer to recommendations of the WIPO and also WTO committee report recently, recent committee reports you can refer, where you will be definitely looked into. Also, the recent treaty which took place last year, Riyadh, I believe, in Riyadh. So in that treaty also you can refer those. You will receive some of the outputs in that treaty. All right, thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
Okay, we can move at the next.
Okay, thank you, sir. Vibhantika, you can go next. You can start with your presentation.
Yes, participant.
Good afternoon, sir. Am I audible, first of all?
No, yes, you are audible. You can start with your presentation.
Yeah. Good afternoon, sir. Thank you for presenting both of us with this opportunity. The topic of our presentation is who controls, who benefits, and who must answer. Reframing liability for an AI in contemporary legal systems. It is presented by Ms. Vibhantika Dwivedi, a senior research fellow at Banaras Hindu University, Varanasi, and Shambhanath Mishra, myself, a research fellow at Dr. Ram Manohar Lohia, National Law University, Lucknow. Next slide, please. The very premise of this presentation is with respect to the liability issues that are arising because of the intensive integration of artificial intelligence technology into various sectors. For example, I have pointed out these 5 basic major incidents which have really called upon the traditional legal concepts into question, and we are really grappling with some of the major gaps that are present in the traditional legal framework with respect to the liability concept. The very first example that I've cited is the Uber AV fatality in 2018. In Tampa, a self-driving mode car met with an accident with a female, and that female died. And the question arose who is to be made liable, whether the driver, whether the company, whether the programming agency, or whether the safety driver that was present in the car. The same thing happened with respect to the Tesla autopilot crash. Again, the same question geared up. The another example is of the Boeing 737 MAX. It was a flight which was being run on an autonomous mode because of a sensor fault that was being run on the artificial intelligence system. The hood of the plane continued to regress downwards, and because of which we had a major crash in which more than 100 people died. And another is the case of the facial recognition wrongful arrest. Citizen Robert Williams was arrested 2 years after the commission of a crime when facial recognition technology identified him as one of the prospective accused. And another example is of the OSS Zara Elena context. What is the common pattern in all of these examples is that there have been harm which have emerged from a socio-technical chain, but law has lost a track. Law has lost the track of creating that risk and how one is getting benefited and who is to be made held liable. Next slide. Following the same line, last year we had 2 major incidents that was very disturbing for all of us. 2 teenage boys were in constant touch with the ChatGPT, which was acting as a counselor, and they were expressing with that artificial intelligence system named as ChatGPT and character AI. And during their conversation, it somehow suggested them to end their life. Now, Adam Rain, 16 years of age, and Suvel Setzer, 14 years of age, they committed suicide, and in which the artificial intelligence system acted as a support by telling them how to end their life and supporting their ideas of whether to live or not to live. Now, the cases have been filed against the character.ai and Google, and the early dismissal was dismissed, but later on the Reuters reported that they have reached to a conclusion, they have reached to a settlement. The parents of those deceased teenagers have reached to a settlement with the OpenAI and the character AI, and the case has been shut. But what were the conditions? What were the major points of this settlement was never disclosed. Effective immediately after this thing, there were few legislation that were in the previous slide. Now, Yes, we can move ahead. Now, what is the major issue here is that there is a homicide, there is a homicide, but who is to be held liable? Now, as per when we go to the traditional legal framework, there are four important incidents with respect to the mens rea, with respect to the human involved, with respect to the actus reus, and other elements. But artificial intelligence blurs that line. Now, when we look into this issue from a research point of view, then we find that there are a number of papers. For example, Helivy's paper on the liability of the artificial intelligence system. He proposes three models. The first model being the direct liability of the human being. The second model is the shared liability of the human being and the artificial intelligence. And the third model is the direct liability of the artificial intelligence system. But that research also hits a roadblock when it is mentioned that how can you punish artificial intelligence? First of all, because it doesn't feel anything. The theories of the punishment, which was propounded and expanded by great jurist, does not found a place in the satisfaction, because it cannot feel anything. It will not feel guilty. It will not feel, there is a lack of the emotional element on the part of the artificial intelligence system. And the second, which is very much researched area, is because artificial intelligence is not a legal person. So you cannot accord a right and responsibility unless you treat it as a person jurisprudentially. So, but what I argue in this paper is that the direction in which the research has been moving with respect to the personality debate of the artificial intelligence is not in the correct direction. The debate should be on the point that this liability allocation should be on the basis of three terms: control, benefit, and answerability. Who has the most control over the artificial intelligence system? He must be made liable. Who has benefited from that artificial intelligence system? He must be made liable. And who needs to be answerable when a harm has been occurred? He must be made liable. Now, this is the statistics that is depicting a very concerning trend. Like, for example, if you focus on the right part of the slide, then there have been 1,378 algorithms evaluated by the NIST FRVT, and out of which more than 80% of the commands that were given, or the algorithms that were given, were found to be not in consonant with respect to the child safety standards set by the ChatGPT. On the similar lines, we have 700 million plus ChatGPT weekly active users, a report published by RAND in July 2025. 800 million plus ChatGPT weekly active users, as has been seen in Feb 2026 report. The generative artificial intelligence has amassed private investment of 33.9
Participant, you can go to the conclusion.
Sir, just after presenting one fact, I'll be going to the conclusion. Just if you allow me, please.
Yes.
Yeah, thank you so much, sir. So the table very firstly mentioned that generative artificial intelligence is doing more than one business function, 71%, and the private investment is moving up towards trillions. Next slide, please. So this is where the present law falls very short. Now, the present law wants a single actor bias, intent over risk, and then evidentiary imbalances and personhood is a dead debate. Now, just summarizing in one line, then I'll move to the conclusion. The single actor bias, our law tries to find out one single person who is liable, but in artificial intelligence, when we look how it functions, how it has gotten trained, it is not a single actor bias. There is a person involved in the training, data mining, and etc., etc., etc. Intent over risk, the law focuses upon the intention, mens rea precisely. Evidentiary imbalances. There is a problem known as AI black box, where you do not know how AI functions or makes the final decision per se. Which node it has finally localized to make a final reason. So this evidentiary imbalance also leads to a lack of conceptual clarity with respect to the artificial intelligence on the traditional legal framework, and then personhood is a dead end because we do not have the legal framework to support legal personhood for the artificial intelligence system. Now, the next three slides will go for the policy recommendations and reframing liability, which will be dealt by my author in a very crisp amount of time. Thank you so much, sir. Ms. Vipantika, please. Sir, I guess my author is not here, so I'll be also summarizing this conclusion as well. So reframing liability, I propose that it should be divided into three parts. First is the control, other is the benefit, and third is the answerability. Can we please move to the next slide? Then this is the policy recommendation that there needs to be control-based statutory duty for the high AI risk. The benefit-based enterprise should be made responsible for the specific offenses with respect to, for example, like children's safety. There should be specific legislations, and independence of the AI safety and accountability should be there. Like when we refer to the NITI Aayog's 2018 and 2020 reports of the AI for all, then they are talking about self-regulation, self-audit, but that we need to move away from it, and there needs to be an independent AI safety and accountability standard. Next slide, please. With this discussion, we reach to the final conclusion of a research paper. So my paper suggests two things. First of all, the discussion with respect to the liability of the artificial intelligence system or entity or a program or a tool should move from the point that AI can be person or not, and it should come to three important connotations with respect to the artificial intelligence. First of all, who controls the system, who gets most benefited, and who must answer when the harm occurred. Because the private entities like ChatGPT and OpenAI and other Character.ai or Claude, they are amassing substantial amount of money in way of the subscription models. So they should be held liable when something happens. And one more thing with respect to the ChatGPT's teenage suicide case, in all the cases of the Uber, in all the cases of the Tesla, and in the cases of the ChatGPT children suicide, there have been out of the court settlement in the case of homicide even. But with respect to the principle of plea bargaining that we have in our criminal procedure code, we will not let any such sort of settlement happen in our own country. So if a children or a teenager commits suicide with the help of the ChatGPT, we do not have even that window of the settlement. So India is in dire need to make such provisions with respect to it. And as we have seen the delay in the implementation of the DPDP, the delay in the implementation or the even enforcement or bringing a bill with respect to the digital AI bill, digital India bill, and then again further legislation or a concrete dedicated legislation on artificial intelligence system. The problem is graving and we need to take an action. And I find in my research, we both found that these three models of control, benefit, and answerability to be the best mode of controlling the liability aspect of the artificial intelligence system. Thanks a lot, sir. Any question, I'll be very happy to address, and will be seeking your guidance and suggestions on my paper.
Okay, I don't have any question for you, but there are a few suggestions. Specifically, when we looked into the AI governance and the AI moderation system, there are one protocol which is being developed right now. Like it's a development is going on and the policy is in process. That's a Hiroshima 2.0 protocol. Like it's being developed by the Japan and OECD, like with the coordination. OCED,
Okay.
if you know the organization.
Yes,
So
yes,
like
I know OECD.
yeah, just my suggestion would be take some reference of the research of the Hiroshima 2.0. You will definitely get some of the good output regarding the policy, what is going to be like coming up in upcoming years, and how these challenges are being tackled by the Hiroshima 2.0. I was fortunate enough to chair one of the sessions as a panelist in the India AI Impact Summit with the chairman who was of the Hiroshima 2.0's drafting committee.
Okay, sir.
Yeah. So like as per the outputs given by him to me, like the policy is coming up in upcoming 2 to 3 years, and it would be one of the first AI policy across the world as a AI framework policy in order to moderate these issues, whatever you just disclosed, like how to come up with a better policy for the governance of an artificial intelligence with respect to the chat box, with respect to the chat moderation by the youngsters. So these are the issues which they would be tackling up. So my recommendation would be to like you guys should look into those aspect of the policy, and then only come up with a better refining policy suggestions.
Okay, sir. I'll surely incorporate. Thank you. It has been a pleasure appearing before you. Thank you, sir.
Okay. Yes, we can move to the next participant.
Okay, Dr. Deepthi Susan wants to go next, sir. Should we start with that?
Yes.
Okay.
Dr. Deepthi, you are still not audible. Dr. Deepthi, if you are connected with some microphone or mic, you can just remove that if it is possible. No, you are muted.
Okay, is it better now?
Yes,
Oh,
you
thank
can
you so
start.
thank you so much. First of all, thank you for giving me the opportunity to present my paper on this platform. My paper mainly looks at the concept of intellectual property rights at the age of artificial intelligence, mainly from the perspective of digital marketplaces. So next slide please. Why I chose this particular topic is because see, we have seen trademarks being infringed through the internet, mainly through meta tags or from cyber squatting, which has affected or which has brought in the importance of the initial interest confusion, an average internet consumer getting confused with respect to what kind of product they're looking at and what kind of product is actually displayed on the platform. What artificial intelligence or algorithmic marketplaces have done is that they have aggravated this issue mainly by changing the modus operandi of trademark infringement. So, in my paper, what I've mainly looked at is whether we should reconsider the doctrine of safe harbor, which is applicable to intermediaries. As of now, intermediaries, they take the refuge of the safe harbor principle by saying that we are just providing a platform, we are nowhere actively participating in it. But what we see is when algorithms are applied by these marketplaces, they become from passive to active participants, especially in relation to trademark infringement. Now, for doing this analysis, I have looked at the basic tenets of trademark infringement and have identified the specific areas within these doctrines where AI is posing a challenge. For example, in case of likelihood of confusion, we have the sponsorship confusion. We are looking for a particular product and some different products are shown. So for the consumers, there might be a confusion that gets created that the two are somewhere linked. Then initial interest confusion, that is before purchasing the product, alternate products which are from a different manufacturer but very very similar. I'm sure you also would have observed that when you are looking for products which we use on a day-to-day basis, different brands having the exact same image and exact same description, but the prices, you'll see there is a variation. And how AI, considers that as information which is sought by the consumer, thereby creating initial interest confusion. Then post-purchase confusion is wherein an original product which has been refurbished is displayed by the entity, as an original product, and how the internet consumer gets confused when they see those images while they are searching for the product, and how the concept of average consumer and imperfect recollection helps these algorithms to infringe trademarks perfectly. So how AI facilitates trademark infringement? One is auto suggestions of counterfeit goods. Now, how AI works is that when you're searching for a particular product, alternatives are shown by AI. Now, these alternatives could be counterfeit products, and because AI looks at the number of clicks that product has got, or it looks at the pricing, it compares the prices, it tends to bring in more visibility for counterfeit goods compared to the actual product. So that is one way how AI facilitates trademark infringement. Then keyword bidding and misleading product association. These competitors, they purchase well-known trademarks as keywords, and then they start meta tagging those words in their websites, so that when someone is searching for those trademark protected product or that particular brand, these websites are suggested, or those products are listed, which again is a misuse of the trademark. Then brand dilution through algorithmic search results. Here again, the brand is no longer exclusive, rather it is used as a general term for giving results for products that are sought by consumers. Therefore, what I've done is I've looked at how this safe harbor doctrine has evolved in the Indian context, United States, and the European Union by looking at the legislations that form the foundation of this. In India, we have the Information Technology Act, especially Section 79, which provides for the safe harbor principle. However, if you look at the case laws which are discussed in my paper, there is a slow change or let's say the recently Karnataka High Court, for example, when they were looking at the X Corporation versus Union of India case, they did highlight, the misuse or the manner in which algorithms are being applied for illegal activities. So those cases, how the jurisprudence is changing, the court is recognizing that yes, AI is being used as a tool for carrying out illegal activities, a trademark being infringement being one of them. Then case laws which have looked at intermediary guidelines. Now, intermediary guidelines mainly talk about knowledge that there is an illegal or infringing activity that is taking place. However, what our law or the legal framework or the doctrine that we apply, safe harbor, looks at is actual knowledge, which can be procured either by flagging the particular activity or through a court order. But the aspect of constructive knowledge, see, when I am applying artificial intelligence on my platform, can I be can constructive knowledge be given to me, saying that it might use these methods of comparing prices, and it might highlight counterfeit products. That recognition somewhere is missing in our law. Similarly, in United States, the DMCA, which forms the foundation of safe harbor principle, that there also they are highly criticizing, but there the criticism is mainly from a commercial angle, because they say that if we say constructive knowledge should be recognized for foregoing the safe harbor, then the commercial entities say that it is not commercially viable when there is a large scale infringement of trademarks. So that is being criticized as far as the US law is concerned, and the European Union has been progressive in this manner. Yes, we had the e-commerce directives of 2000, which spoke about the protection that intermediaries can avail, but the Digital Services Act has gone a step further, and what they have done is they have shifted the role of these marketplaces from passive intermediaries to active intermediaries, especially in the context of AI. So the limitations that this doctrine mainly poses as far as AI's use in these marketplaces is concerned, as I said, how AI algorithms are
Dr.
converting.
Deepthi, you can come
Yes,
up
sir.
with the suggestions and recommendations.
Okay, sir. By looking at these regulatory challenges, the suggestion that I'm making is recognizing that the existing safe harbor doctrine is allowing entities, algorithmic marketplaces, to get away with trademark infringement, as it is blurring the distinction between passive and active intermediary. So our laws, what I said recommending is that our laws should take into consideration constructive knowledge for availing or foregoing this protection of safe harbor. Also, the takedown mechanism. We have a reactive nature of takedown mechanism. Instead of that, proactive, wherein the platforms itself should be made responsible to ensure that trademark infringements or IPR violations are not carried out. And the attribution of intent and liability, that aspect also needs to be relooked into, wherein I'm suggesting that if you're using artificial intelligence as a user of that technology, somewhere you should be held accountable for the illegal activities. That's all, sir. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Deepthi. Specifically, I have a few suggestions to make in your paper.
Yes, sir.
So, this first suggestions, since you had referred some of the safe harbors provisions and the like of the trademark,
Yes, sir.
you should also refer some of the case laws of United States where the safe harbor provisions has been deliberately made in such a manner that how it should indicate what's replication and what's the similar uses.
Okay, sir.
So, like these kind of demarcations are yet to be done in Indian context.
Yes, sir.
So that would be one of the suggestion. And the second suggestion is you can also refer with some of the reports of WIPO. Like you will be easily getting those reports in the WIPO website by recent whatever events has been taken place in the WIPO with the trademark. So they are also consolidated issues with respect to the trademarks and the protection across the world has been deliberated. You can take those issues and provide those few suggestions and the recommendations if you get into for the topic.
Okay. Right, sir.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you for giving the opportunity.
Thank you, ma'am. Moving towards our last presentation of the day, could we have Mr. Abhijit go next?
Yes, very good afternoon to panelists and participants. I'm Abhijit Vaidya, working as an assistant professor at SHM Law College, Rajguru Nagar, Pune only. So my paper looks at a simple but important question, that is, while artificial intelligence is making learning faster, but it is also changing how students think. This study examines how AI is shaping and students' learning practices, particularly in relation to critical thinking, knowledge production, and educational equity. Uh, the use of AI in education has increased rapidly. Students are using AI tools for assignments, understanding concepts, and even preparing for the exams. These tools are often seen as efficient and accessible and are believed to democratize education. However, these assumptions need to be questioned. The issue is not just whether AI is useful, but what kind of learning it produces. Uh, is it encouraging deeper understanding or simply making students dependent on ready made answers? To analyze this, I have used the idea and concept of one of the very known scholar, Herbert Marcuse, um, idea of technological rationality, and that he developed in one dimensional man. Marcuse argues that modern technologies prioritize efficiency and control, often reducing critical thinking. Applying this to AI, we can examine whether students are becoming more efficient learners or more dependent users. This study uses a qualitative approach, while rather I can say exploratory small scale qualitative research. I conducted with 21 students from a diverse backgrounds. The aim was to understand how students are actually using AI in their daily academic work and what they feel about its impact on their learning. And the first key finding is that AI is mainly used for efficiency. Students reported that it helps them complete assignments quickly and access information instantly. However, this creates uh, this creates a shift from learning as a process of understanding to learning as a task of completion. A major concern that emerged is in the impact on critical thinking. Many students felt that frequent use of AI reduces their need to think independently. Instead of analyzing or questioning, students tend to accept AI generated responses. In this way, thinking is gradually being outsourced to technology. And actually, the students who belongs to rural part of India, actually they even don't know that AI can be biased and give them false information. and generally they do not question the authenticity of AI and responses of AI. So it has a major concern. The study also highlights inequalities in access. Not all students have equal access to AI tools, especially premium versions. Students from rural or economically weaker backgrounds face challenges related to devices, internet, and affordability. This suggests that AI may reinforce existing inequalities. Another important finding is related to knowledge production. AI tends to provide standardized answers, often dominated by English and mainstream perspectives. This limits exposure to diverse viewpoints and may reproduce dominant um, forms of knowledge rather than encouraging plurality. Even in one point of time, I asked my student that please find out what is left wing ideology and right wing ideology and tell me the next day. So many of the students told me that left wing ideology means the people who are against the government, and I was shocked that I mean how they have reached that kind of answer. Then I asked them that what is the reference point for this answer. So they told me that sir, we have searched this on ChatGPT. And I was like, please don't rely on ChatGPT. Please recheck it, authenticate it, and then only then believe it. So, in conclusion, while AI improves the efficiency, it also reshapes learning practices. There is a risk of reduced critical thinking, increased dependency, and reinforcement of inequalities. Therefore, AI should not be seen as a neutral tool. The key challenge is to use AI in a way that supports learning without replacing independent thinking. Thank you, sir.
Okay. Very well said. Specifically, before also one of the participants just came up with this issue regarding the critical thinking and their uses of artificial intelligence. So I have a few suggestions to make in your paper. Specifically, when I attended India AI Impact Summit with some of the delegates from the Europe, from the Estonia and the other delegates. So they were in concerned, like the German delegates and the other delegates were having the concern that the users of AI, they had been using, their countries has been using the artificial intelligence in education for more than for 5 to 8 years now. But the concern is, in one way it is coming up with the responsive effectiveness, that a student can come up with n number of queries and can get the response instantly. But on the other hand, right now they are concerned that the thinking capacity, or in other words intelligence of a student, are being challenged. Like their intelligence is consecutively getting reduced whenever with the coming of times. So what is your understanding, like how these challenges can be tackled or taken into consideration?
Sir, I have a look at the literature that has been, I mean, the people who have worked in OCD and UNESCO, or even generally people have worked on artificial intelligence and education. So that people are belong to this, and in India actually artificial intelligence and education have a very less work. And in fact, uh, in educational inequality and artificial intelligence, there is a very less work in India. And I mean, there is also one thing, that is the algorithm. The way we search on Google, the way we follow even videos, Instagram reels, everything that we search, that we do see, watch, that gets collected, and on the basis of that, algorithm suggests or gives answers to us and students. And that's why it creates a narrow-minded and one-dimensional man, the way Herbert argues in his one-dimensional man. So we need to look at from that angle how uh, that technological rationality creates a one-dimensional man in the society.
All right. Thank you for your presentation.
Yes, thank you so much, sir.
So I think that's the end of it. I think we have gone through all the participants.
Okay, we can move with the vote of thanks.
Okay, so. Sir, it was an honor being the host of the session. Thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to be the host in this situation. Thank you, Mandal sir. It was an honor having you on the bench. We learned a lot from your expertise, and I think that's all I have to say, sir. I don't have a vote of thanks, but I'm so sorry. But am I audible, sir?